Hello, everyone, and welcome to Championship Saturday at the 2018 Glassblown Open, presented by Dynamic Disc. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with Robert McCall. And Robert, some beautiful weather in store, great courses, great competitors. I don't know if we could drop this Saturday any better.
No, the weather has certainly cooperated a lot better this year than in years past. Out at the country club, something interesting is that the wind is blowing in the exact opposite direction. So hole one was playing with a tailwind almost all day yesterday, and today was a dead headwind. And so basically the exact opposite wind. It's a wind that it doesn't look like our competitors have practiced in. So I'm excited to see who can adapt and kill this course today.
All right. Well, we're also, of course, going to be bringing you footage from the lead card on the women's side. They're over at Peter Pan Park, so they're playing their third and different course yet again here on this final round, and we're excited that we'll have that action for you. Paige Pierce is currently your leader, but Emily Beach, Sarah Holcomb, and Lisa Fakis will be joining her, all trying to hunt down their first Glassblown Open titles.
That's right, and I love Peter Pan Park. It's one of my favorite places to play in town. It's just a really fun course, a lot of opportunities for birdie, but some trouble places that you can find if you get a little loose with your tee shots or pick a bad landing zone. So we'll see how our ladies attack the course today.
All right, let's get to the action.
Professional Disc Golf Association. I'd like to mention a couple of things. One, if you have a cell phone, please make sure it's on silent. Two, if at all times we can stay behind the players. And three, this entire course is full of other players, so we need to be respectful of them because it's also their tournament. Okay? So, hope you're ready for some exciting golf today. Good luck, ladies. Let's enjoy.
Thank you.
That was Sean Sinclair of the PDGA giving everyone a little bit of info and insight, some housekeeping items.
Our 3 o'clock tee time. The lead card of the Glassblown Open, FPO, leading us off in first place from Plano, Texas, Paige Pierce.
Your current leader, Paige Pierce, is on the tee, and yes, we are going to, of course, bring you MPO action from Country Club. It looks like they're running about 10 minutes from now, so we'll be cutting over to them when appropriate. Here's Paige Pierce.
Paige is taking an aggressive line over the baseball fence. She's cleared the scoreboard, and that's going to put her probably around 40 feet from the basket. That is the aggressive play for birdie on this hole. She's done well.
Rapids, Iowa, Emily Beach.
Emily Beach, the lefty, takes a nice safe play down the left side of this fairway, even getting razzed by a baby. You have to wonder if that was hired by another competitor.
I'm sure Paige has one of her many fans here. Just said bring all your kids out and get them to scream at the wrong time.
One of her infant fans.
Yes. Sarah Holcomb's forehand turns over to the left side of the fairway.
There's no OB over there, so that should be an open look to the basket.
Fourth on the tee from Round Rock, Texas, Lisa Fakis.
Will Lisa be going up the middle, or will she play out with the aggressive route?
This is a turnover play all day. To clear the fence is a rather long throw. Beautifully played by Lisa.
So those are your tee shots that we've seen. Again, we're going to keep up with them. They'll at least get through hole one, and we'll continue to follow them as much as we can. The men are looking to tee off at about 310 at the Country Club. They're going to be opening with an 1,100-foot hole over at the Country Club. Which
yeah, just easy 1135.
just get
Welcome
your day
to the
started.
country club.
Yeah, no big deal.
That's right.
So there's, of course, been a lot of talk this week. The 3 different courses on the women's side, but then the men are playing just the single course at the country club. Give everyone your quick take, advantages or disadvantages to either side.
Well, there are clear advantages to both. One advantage in the favor of just playing one course is that pros who tour the country only have to come in and practice one course, so they can use their practice days more efficiently. Maybe they can just spread it out to just playing one round a day instead of trying to cover a couple of courses at a time. Disadvantages. If you only play one course, generally those courses favor one type of thrower over another, and so we see some of our longer throwers on our lead card, definitely familiar faces at most tournaments that we play, but there's a bit of give and take. It's something that we're trying out new this year, and every year after GBO we sit down and assess what went well, what went poorly, and this is definitely something we'll discuss this year to see if we want to move forward with it for the men's open field, possibly the women's open field next year. It's all up for debate right now over here at the DD headquarters.
Well, and there's certainly a huge advantage in the fact that as the women are playing, of course, here at the same time as the men are playing, in this situation, at least for this week, we're able to add an extra cameraman, add a little bit more coverage, and get out there and be able to have both men's and women's coverage going on live at the same time.
Huge benefit for us, yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to see on Central Coast as well as Jomez Productions, you're going to see the post-production footage always come out the very next day, so you can get a condensed version if you really want. But we're here and now, and it's a Saturday afternoon, you're able to see action from both men's and women, and we're glad to be doing it. Looks like we have Sarah Hokum throwing her approach shot. I believe that's with a joker eye.
And as a Sarah Hokum is wont to do, she puts it under the basket. Very, very apt with her touch forehand approaches. Next to throw will be Lisa Fakis. She's approximately 100 feet from the basket.
I'll occasionally see Lisa throw a forehand drive, not so much on approaches, but looks like she's doing that quite well. Maybe just a bit short, but she's definitely within her range.
Emily's turnover is nice out of her hand, finishes just right of the basket, well within 15 feet.
Emily, I believe, just 19 years old, and said she's been playing for about 4 years.
Wow.
And we've seen her come up through the ranks very quickly, and now here she is on the lead card at the final round of a national tour event. That's very impressive, as Paige is just outside circle one.
And Paige's putt is low out of her hand. It's going to leave her 12 feet coming back to the basket. Hole 1 at Peter Pan surrenders birdies relatively often during tournaments, but if the wind is up just a little bit, it can be an extremely daunting tee shot. Paige is in for 3. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of threes, especially from the women's field on this hole. We saw 3 of our competitors take a more conservative route on the outside of the fence and then just pitch up for their look at a 3.
And hopefully, if she had any nerves, which I know she talked about having them, a good solid par just to get yourself moving. No harm, no foul on hole 1. Emily is going to walk away with a 3.
And Lisa has matched her putter to her shorts today. That's next level commitment from one of our top female competitors. I have nothing but respect for it personally.
I have to agree. And Holcomb's in. All right, we're going to cut over to the men's side. It looks like they're getting ready. A moment ago, everybody had their hands momentarily on the trophy. And we're going to bring you some action from over at Emporia Country Club. I see Eagle McMahon standing around also. Simon Lizotte, see the Jomez crew. Ryan Draper, who recently was one of your co-TDs over at the Waco Annual Charity Open.
Open. Would like to remind all of our spectators as you head out on the course to follow our ears. Please stay behind the blue shirts, behind the caddies, behind the media. Be respectful of the players. Make sure your phones are on silent. Our lead card, 3 o'clock tee time. Teeing off first from Boulder, Colorado. Sponsored by Discmania, Eagle McMahon.
Eagle, one of the longest throwers in our sport. First to attack this 1,135-foot par 5. Eagle opts for the conservative hyzer out over the large bushy tree on the right side of the fairway. He's landed right in the center.
From Fair Oaks, California, sponsored by Innova, Drew Gibson.
Drew tied for the lead at 17 under par.
Drew takes more of a high flex, and he's hung this up too high. He needs that to get down, but it is likely headed out of bounds on the left side. And that's a big miss from Gibson. Probably 40 feet left of the cart path out of bounds.
It seemed as if it came out of his hand with too much angle, or maybe a little bit nose up right out of his hand.
Perhaps. Maybe a bit of a slip as well.
Open champion, Simon Lizotte.
And 3 of our sport's longest throwers, the first 3 to tee here. Simon opts for the same safe hyzer as Eagle. He's played that well, and that's a convenient option to have if you can throw a hyzer, 450 or 500 feet.
And from Fort Mill, South Carolina, sponsored by Latitude 64, the 2016 and reigning world champion, Ricky Wysocki.
Ricky's disc is tracking over the right side of the fairway and comes to settle softly in the center. So we've got 3 drives in bounds and 1 out of bounds.
Now let's take a listen to what Eagle McMahon had to say earlier.
What was the walk-up song you chose this week?
Oh gosh, this is so weeby. Attack on Titan opening from season 1.
Okay, that is a deep cut. Why did you choose that one?
Oh, you'll see.
Okay, all right.
It hits hard right at the beginning.
Okay. Now, we were talking a little bit in 2015, you didn't actually get the song you chose. What happened in 2015?
I don't even know what happened. I mean, my walk-up song was from like one of my favorite bands, Circus Survive, Get Out. So just a real hard-hitting song right off the beginning. Like, if that song came on, I think my life would be different right now. I probably would have played so much better. But instead, I think it was Brian Lamoureux who was TDing at the time, and he asked me before, what tee-off song do you want? I said, Circus Survive, Get Out. And he was like, I step up and I hear this song I've never heard ever come on and turned out to be Rump Shaker. And I was just like, oh no. And it didn't cause a very good round.
Welcome back to Peter Pan Park. It looks like we are rejoining the women at hole number 2, which our graphic from UDisc Live will ultimately update for us.
Hole 2 plays a similar distance to hole 1, but is slightly uphill. With the wrong wind, this hole is extremely difficult too. Here we see Emily Beach lining up what looks like her second shot. She played that a bit deep of the basket, but weighted nicely. We'll switch back over to Emporia Country Club, where we have Drew Gibson throwing his third after his out-of-bounds drive. And you can hear the audible snap coming off of his hand. This disc has some heat on it. He set himself up for a relatively easy upshot for an opportunity at a par 5 here. Lizotte has opted for a safer hyzer, finishing a bit short of Drew's second shot, but he'll be looking at a chance at birdie. Looks as if Ricky has a Lucid X Enforcer in his hand, so I can't imagine that this would be a go-for-it shot. Probably just a hyzer out over the right side to put himself in good position to attack the green with his next shot. Just as we suspected, a tall, flat hyzer, well short of the golf green, to leave him approximately 200 feet to the basket.
As Eagle lines up his shot, we're looking at the statistics from hole number 1, seeing that his playing is the 8th most difficult here today, averaging 5.35, with just 21% of the field playing it at below par.
And that just speaks to the effect of the wind on this hole. With a tailwind, this hole played .03 under par for most of the day yesterday, and nearly a third of a stroke over par today.
I think yesterday we took a guess at what was the largest score on hole number 1.
That's
take
right.
A guess at today's?
That's right. We had 8 yesterday, and I think with a headwind it was probably worse today. I'll take 10 today.
Well, you're technically right. A gentleman did card a 10. He later withdrew. I know he's been suffering from some injuries, so I'm sure that had something to do with it, but he ultimately had carded the high score of 10. We've seen one eagle on this hole, and that was, I believe, during the opening round.
That's right, Jake Hubenheimer.
That is correct. Did we see any today prior to this lead card showing up?
No eagles today.
No eagles today, exactly. And how do we sound and look so smart when we say that? udisclive.com. So thank you to Matt and Josh. Please check them out at udisclive.com. Gives you scores and statistics for every single hole, every single card, and every single person competing here in this national tour event. They have teamed up with the PDGA, and you'll be seeing that action throughout the national tour this entire year. So thank you again, Matt, Josh, over at UDisc Live. And over on hole number 3, we have Peter Pan, the Peter Pan course, and Paige Pierce.
It's quite the alliteration here. Paige Pierce, Peter Pan. Paige has skipped her hyzer just in front of the large tree that you need to beat on the right side. So she will probably be just outside the circle, but have an obstructed putt at the basket. After playing conservatively on his second shot, Ricky has left his approach a bit left and short of the basket. Eagle McMahon plays a gentle hyzer into the green and has come up just inside circle one. This has actually been a common miss on the men's Pro Open side today. I've seen a lot of competitors come up short on their approaches, even from a relatively short distance. Simon's approach ends up nearly pin high and right of the basket inside the circle. And last to throw, his approach will be Drew Gibson. After an out-of-bounds drive, this is his approach to save his par. He's played it wide of the basket and skipped it directly under it.
One thing that I think will be great to experience today is the dynamic here within the group. We saw all four of these competitors yesterday. We saw, we'll say, a spirited conversation take place on hole number 16. I think that's a fair word to use.
Spirited is a good word for that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so these same four competitors going head-to-head against one another. We see the three-stroke advantage that McMahon and Gibson started the day with. I think that's going to change up by the end of the hole here after our very first hole. So I'm excited to see how this all unfolds.
And this is a statement putt from McMahon. Even though it just trickles over the front rim, he is in for birdie 4. He'll walk off the hole with a one-shot lead. Ricky's putt faced a headwind with a bit of right to left, and with the nose down angle, it was just shoved down. He'll have to settle for a par here.
I'd also say I think it was interesting to see that Wysocki took a little bit more time than normal. Not that he's necessarily fast on the longer putts, but I was surprised to see him kind of thinking about that one a little bit more than what we're used to seeing. So Wysocki will tap out. Gibson's already tapped out. And we're going to listen to a word from our sponsor as we head to hole number 2.
For the 2018 season, the PDGA has updated the official rules of disc golf. Let's take a look at one of them. When a thrower releases their disc, they must have one supporting point in contact with their lie. The lie is the area behind the disc or mini marker on the ground. And this year it's been changed to be a rectangle 8 inches wide and 12 inches long. This lets straddle putts get just a little bit wider and really lets the pros unleash on their long distance drives. Stay tuned for more rules updates here at the 2018 Glassblown Open.
We're back here with the FPO division over at Peter Pan, and Lisa Fakis putting up a good bid, but short on her putt.
It appears as if several of our FPO competitors have found themselves in these kind of thick and thorny bushes. The best play on the hole is to miss the big tree that's just to their right on the right side. That gives them a clearer look at the basket.
Pierce with a short forehand, and that is not going to work. Let's head back over. We'll see Eagle McMahon with the tee shot on hole number 2.
Eagle's gotten a lot of turn on this. If it has the stability to get back, he'll be in a great position. Simon's disc certainly has the turn that it needs. He's gotten some applause from the gallery. He'll be on the right side of the fairway throwing a hyzer up to the basket.
Drew falling 1 off the pace for the bogey on the previous hole. He sits at 17 under par.
It was a par that he took on the previous hole, just losing 1 stroke to Eagle.
Thank you.
And Drew has absolutely gotten all of this shot. That is way up there. Impressive power from Gibson. Last to tee is Wysocki. He's forced over an overstable disc, and it's faded back into the fairway nicely. We'll head back to hole 4 here at Peter Pan Park. This is 365 feet. This hole plays straight down a tunnel of trees. There is a Mando about halfway down the fairway. Pierce has perennially played a subtle hyzer to the right side.
Here at Peter Pan.
Perennially played a soft hyzer at Peter Pan. And it looks as if she's hit the Mando tree. So she might be safe. We'll find out when we get up to that lie, but that's a miss from Pierce. This is a hole she feasts on. It's right in the distance that she likes to throw and has a bit of advantage over some of the other competitors. Hokum throws a nice angle that finishes over to the right. She'll likely find herself around circle 2's edge, perhaps a bit inside.
Lisa Fakis is currently sitting in a tie for second at 1 under par.
And Fakis has played a turnover down the middle. She's gotten a bit of a skip forward and will likely have a decent look at her birdie 2. Back over at Emporia Country Club, we see a disc narrowly sitting in bounds. It looks like it's Eagle's disc.
Over the last few days, Robert, you've talked about just how far some of these drives have been here on our second hole. What does it take to get up to where they're at right now? What effective power, what are we talking about?
Effective power to get where Drew's disc landed is 550, maybe a little bit more. This hole had a shorter pin in previous years that played 600 feet or so, and you could throw a not a great drive, kind of a short drive, and still throw maybe a putter up to the basket. And this basket has moved back approximately 150 feet, and these competitors are doing that exact same thing. Throwing a nice smooth putter hyzer. Eagle actually pushes his long. It's going to be safe, but probably outside circle 1.
That's certainly a mistake on Eagle's part there. He had such a great drive, and then to throw it so far deep past the basket, he's going to have a difficult putt coming back, at least in terms of distance. Obviously no obstruction there, and there's a great approach shot with a forehand.
And this hole measures in at 709 feet. Uphill for the majority of its flight, and Drew's throwing a really soft forehand into the green. That should give you an idea of just how long his drive was. That is world-class power.
Well, we're seeing not too many shakeups thus far taking place in these first couple of holes. I misspoke earlier. I said that Drew, in fact, he lost a stroke on the first hole, but it was due to him taking a par. So Eagle McMahon dialed in on the very first hole. In fact, we can take a look at the scores that are in thus far. We're seeing some chatter on the board about who's making a move. A moment ago, someone noted Paul Macbeth had taken a 6 and was struggling. We're seeing A.J. Risley continuing his climb. He continues it from yesterday, we should say. He's 3 under through 3 holes. We're seeing Nate Doss sitting at -4 for the round, and he's through 5 holes. So very impressive by Nate Doss. Nate Sexton, however, a little bit stagnant. Colton Montgomery continues the climb he started yesterday, 4 under through the first 6 holes. So very impressive play by Colton Montgomery. This is Eagle coming back at us for birdie.
And Eagle's putt lifts a bit back into the wind and is settled inside 15 feet. He'll likely be taking a par. And Ricky converts after a shaky putt on hole 1. He'll be 1 under on the round. Simon converts as well. He'll be 2 under. I believe that's the same start he took yesterday, birdie birdie. Eagle would tap out his par, and last to putt will be Gibson for his birdie.
And we've moved back over to hole number 4 at Peter Pan. This is Lisa Fakis from outside circle 2. Looks to be just about 80 feet or so.
It's a half bid, half layup from Lisa there. Just kind of like a soft nose up run. We've moved up and found Sarah Hokum's drive, which has settled inside circle 2, it looks like.
Now, Sarah has to be really, really confident with this. She either needs to run this putt and give it full commitment, or she needs to simply lay it up and let it just slide right up to the basket. I think we're going to see a layup from here. She's taking her time, which might make you think she's running it. And she was doing just that. A great run by Hokum, just short though.
And Hokum's putting style is largely up and down on an arc, and so even if she misses putts, usually they settle somewhat near the basket. We didn't get to see exactly where Paige Pierce's drive landed, but I believe this is her putt for par. She had an obstructed stance up by the Mando tree. And Pierce's line is right out of her hand. She didn't like it and knew it immediately.
Now, yesterday we saw and witnessed Paige Pierce really struggle on the putting green. I know you're not only a good friend, but also the team manager here at Dynamic Disc. Did you have any conversations with her? Did she say anything, or is that something she's just going to try and sleep off and come back the next day, or was there some adjustments she's looking to make?
We didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about it, to tell you the truth. After rounds like this, well, that's a nice confident stroke from Paige.
Great putt.
After rounds like that yesterday, where it was a bit of a roller coaster, missing a few putts that she normally makes, Paige likes to just take the night off and not think about disc golf too much, and so knowing that about her, we didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about disc golf. We just kind of hung out with friends and enjoyed ourselves.
Well, there was a Swedish bonfire that took place. It was a very good time. Of course, so much activity and action here at the Glass Blown Open. There's something to do just about every moment, whether it's on the course or otherwise.
So that'll be Lisa for her par. Emily and Paige Pierce will both take bogey 4 on hole 3. Simon has attempted to play under the wind today and has cut-rolled his drive out of bounds. That is a huge mistake from Lizotte.
I think the crowd is somewhat in awe, as that was...
I think Simon's probably in awe. I bet he hasn't thrown a shot that poorly in, I don't know, a year, maybe 2. It's just an unfortunate miss at a bad time. Gibson opts for the hyzer out over the OB cart path. The wind is aiding this play today. Gibson sticks his drive approximately at circle's edge, left of the basket. He'll be putting back into a headwind for his birdie. Wysocki opts for a lower hyzer. A bit more turn on his disc. He just needs this to filter down to the basket. Filter it has. That is pretty perfect on a hole like this. I think hole 3 is a bonus birdie for a lot of our competitors. Not because it's the longest hole, it's just an odd angle into the green and a risky one if you go out over the cart path. Wysocki has played his drive to near perfection.
I think it's even riskier if you throw it about 60 feet off the tee and then have it cut roll
out of bounds.
We'll see if McMahon can execute the forehand shot. He asked the camera woman, Alyssa Van Lannen, to step aside so he'd have a better look. That looks to be a really good shot. Let's see if it does, and it in fact sits down before finding the OB cart path. I think we can go over and check in with Sarah Holcomb on hole number 5. She's on the tee.
Hole number 5 is actually a daunting tee shot here. You see a shelf that Sarah is throwing up onto. If your drive doesn't clear onto that shelf on the drive, you move to the drop zone, which is the short tee on this hole, 300 feet. And it's not a gimme up and down. So the drive is crucial to getting your par 3 here. I would imagine most competitors won't play for a 2. I honestly never, ever play for a 2. Just try and get something safe.
And we're seeing Simon Lizotte in the corner of your screen throwing his approach shot, while Lisa Fakis is throwing her drive. And that looks to be clean and on the shelf.
That's a beautifully played shot by Lisa. Just getting out into the field is great. She might have a little bit of a run from there, but most likely just pitch up and take her 3. Even after taking a bogey, here's Paige Pierce sitting in solo first place, 1 over on the day. And she's missed her drive left, but that's the mistake that you want to make here. If you miss right, that's almost instant OB and no better than a 4. Last to tee will be Emily Beach, who started off the day with 2 bogeys and 2 pars. She's played a turnover well that caught a bit of a cut roll but has settled safe. She'll be able to save par from there.
And we've come back now. Looks like Eagle McMahon is going, he's not messing around. He's just going to
That's a smart play.
Yeah, play the layup. He doesn't want this to carry back way past the basket. Of course, there's a down slope from where he was standing. So just saying, I'm going to throw it up next to the pin, and I'll be content walking away with a par here.
And to tell you the truth, from his perspective, it's almost impossible to get to the basket. He'd kind of have to throw a weird air bounce to get up there. So it's a smart play, but it was likely his only play. After an errant drive, this is Lizotte for 4. He's caught the top band and will settle for double bogey 5 here on hole 3.
Solid putting stroke there by Drew Gibson. One thing we're going to be able to watch unfold today is, at any point, are Eagle and Drew going to be able to pull away from the rest of the field? Of course, that's what they're looking to do. I don't want to sound all too John Madden obvious there. As we know, I think the lowest score will win, but they seem to be, they started with that cushion, and we'll see if they can push one another, or if somebody's going to shoot a really hot round and somehow be able to catch them.
Yeah, there's a guy on the lead card who's been known to charge in final rounds a little bit. You might have heard of him. His name's Ricky. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I knew you were wondering.
That Wysocki fella.
Yeah.
Well, he's
been known to put together a decent round every once in a while. We've caught back up with the FPO lead card at Peter Pan Park. Here's Emily Beach throwing her second from near the out-of-bounds line. That's a beautiful flight from Emily. That'll likely leave her around circle one's edge for her look to save her par. Sarah Hokum approaches the forehand up to Five's basket. In case you were wondering, the Mando tree that she was standing in front of is for hole 6's tee, so that will not be in effect for the hole the women currently are playing.
As we're about to watch Drew Gibson and talking about some of the charging players that might be out there, Jared Neal is in the clubhouse with a 9 under, and Emerson Keith is currently sitting at 8 under. Kyle Webster and Chris Dickerson both shot 6 under on the day. So those are some of your hot scores as Drew Gibson parks hole number 4.
The wind today is playing a bit more right to left than it has in days past. This will allow our competitors the opportunity to hang their backhand hyzer a bit more over the OB fairway and just swing it in toward the basket. Ricky's bid has come up a bit short, but he will be inside the circle putting for 2. Eagle swings a wide hyzer over the OB fairway, looking for a bit of skip, and instead he gets a spike. That'll leave him 40 feet. Simon's hyzer is a bit higher than Eagle's and tracking toward the basket. Just catches the last tree on the right side, and it may have been a bit deep of the basket, but from our perspective looked like it was tracking quite nicely.
Wow, that was a beautiful shot by Simon. They're going to move down the fairway on hole number 4. What we can do is check in with a few of the scores that we're seeing from around the course on both the men's and the women's side. I mentioned a few moments ago the hottest score that has come in thus far today, 9 under. So we haven't seen anyone best the opening hot round of originally 10 under by the 5 gentlemen in the first round. Kyle Webster, I mentioned a moment ago, he shot a 6 under. He improved by 19 strokes over his previous round. I saw him post that on Facebook. And here's the kicker. He finished his round today with a double bogey.
Oh my goodness!
So he was certainly on pace.
He was in 55 range before that. So congrats to you, Kyle. Kyle's a good friend. It's always good to see him shoot well.
Eric Oakley also with a big bounce back here today. He struggled a little bit this week. He had ultimately 2 bogeys, then picked things up overall on the back and finished with a 5 under par for the day, and that's going to put him at +6 for the weekend. So just a few of the scores. You're out here. Sometimes if you're pushed way down on that leaderboard, you're thinking, all right, I'm going to get everything today. I'm going for broke, so to speak. I've got nothing to lose. I'm likely not going to get into that cash line, so I'm going for everything, and it looks like it might be paying off for a few of our competitors out there right now. Great birdie there by Eagle McMahon. And another really nice gallery, and they've got a lot of options, a lot of different cards to watch. Of course, I think we're going to see it continue to grow as many of the competitors here at the GBO are wrapping up their day. They're all going to be filtering over to the Emporia Country Club for the live action. This is Wysocki. Oh, that seems to just dip out on the left side by Wysocki. Need a little more height and I think a little bit more online with that one.
That's maybe an inch or two off of sticking all day. And Simon with an extremely uncharacteristic miss, maybe a lackadaisical approach to that putt, counting it as good. He'll have to settle for par after an exciting tee shot. Drew Gibson will drop in his birdie.
Ricky Wysocki trying to tap out and move on. I think we can head back over to Peter Pan and check in with the women. It looks like we have Lisa Fakis on the tee of hole number 6.
And Lisa started off with 5 straight pars, 5 threes. She's currently even on the round. Hole 6 plays 335 feet uphill through a tight gap to a basket guarded by a tree that is known for grabbing discs. Lisa's played out to the right side and caught a lemon falling down on the right. She'll have some probably small gaps up to the basket from there.
Not a lot of room to work with when you're over on that right-hand side.
No.
So I've heard from others who have played that course.
That's right. If you're going to be on the right side, you want to be far right. You can get all the way past the trees on the right. And I've actually seen Paige Pierce take that play quite often. This looks to be a lucid convict for Pierce. She's played it straight up the middle and pushed it a bit left. But it's sat down in the fairway. From there, she'll be pitching up for a 3. Hookham's forehand is finishing to the left. We'll catch back up with the men here at Emporia Country Club as Drew Gibson is on the tee. The difficult hole 5. It's possible that Drew would argue with the term difficult for this hole as he peers the fairway and will leave himself a routine hyzer up to the basket.
As Eagle gets ready here on hole number 5, I can tell you that it is the 7th most difficult hole on the course today, averaging 4.31. So more than a quarter stroke above par is the average, with just 23% of the field taking birdies and 36% of the field taking bogeys or worse.
McMahon has stuck to his game plan from previous rounds and has played a forehand to finish on the right side. He's done so successfully, and that will open up a good angle for him up to the basket. Wysocki takes a low, direct shot up the right side of the fairway. Simon wasting no time, launches a drive. Snuck past the first guardian tree in the fairway. He'll have a subtle hyzer up to the basket.
And it's sometimes hard for me to do nothing but chuckle or smile or grin when we see some of these shots. We are fans of the game, and I know we get to the luxury of calling it here from the Dynamic Disc Distribution Center, but we're fans of the game. So when we see some of those shots, like the one just taken by Simon, we have to pick our jaw off the ground and say, wow, it's just unbelievable what they're doing out there. Robert, thank you again for being here. Of course, this is the third and final round here at the 2018 Glass Blown Open presented by Dynamic Disc. It's been an amazing week. Everyone has had so much fun, and it's almost frightening to think there's so much fun to be had in the next 24 hours still.
That's exactly right. We've got our block party coming up tonight after the final round is over. We'll have plenty of vendors out there, players with fundraiser discs for themselves. Local businesses come out to support as well. We shut down a couple of blocks of our main street here in town called Commercial Street, and we just have a great time. We have a huge ring of fire. Huge. Several hundred competitors at a time. We've got prizes all night. We've got the finale of our putting contest as well as the caddy games. If you haven't heard about the caddy games, you need to check them out. There's a competition for how fast can you pack a disc golf bag. Awesome. There's a kart racing game, not Mario Kart, but like a Zuka kart.
A Zuka kart, of course.
So it's going to be a sight to behold. If you are in the area or can make it out, come down to Commercial Street around 7 p.m. this evening. That's when the festivities start, and they'll likely continue into tomorrow.
And speaking of keeping the wheels on, so to speak, it's going to be interesting. We're moving into this part of the course. The players are now a little bit more comfortable. Any kind of first hole jitters should be worn off by now. They should be really comfortable. They've all played with each other countless times out here. They've all been in these high pressure situations. They're going to likely keep their eyes on things like UDisc Live, just like we do, which is kind of a funny advancement that we've seen in the game, that players can say, well, I may not win it, but I definitely want to stay in the top 5, and here's how I might attack these final few holes. This is Ricky Wysocki throwing his second shot.
He's played a great angle and gets a little check roll toward the cart path, but will ultimately come to rest in bounds approximately 20 feet from the basket, possibly 25.
Drew Gibson currently sitting in first place by himself at 20 under par.
And he'll move to 21 after par after that shot. Beautifully played around the tree. Spikes it under the basket.
Lizotte assessing the situation after having the longest drive in the group. That's a relatively routine standstill backhand shot for Lizotte, putting himself within 12 feet of the pin.
I've been in that same spot as Simon before, but usually from throwing my second shot into one of those guardian trees. So an absolute smash of a drive by Simon here on hole 5.
Now, let's take a look. We're seeing some action over at Peter Pan, but let's take a look at the scores quickly. I think if I hit a button, I might be able to even bring those up for you guys. Paige Pierce sitting at 2 under par. She is +1 on the day, but still maintains a 1-stroke lead over Lisa Fakis. Sarah Holcomb sits at even, and Emily Beach at +1. We'll check back in with the men's scores in just a few moments after we watch our putts on hole number 5 here at the Country Club.
An Eagles approach certainly left something to be desired. A little bit longer putt than he expected after a drive placed basically where he wanted to place it, maybe slightly shorter than he wanted. He'll settle for a par here. And Ricky Wysocki is good for birdie. It'll move him to 17 under par for the weekend. Lizotte is up and in for his birdie. Eagle in for par, and Drew with a tap-in birdie.
Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
With the 2018 season, the PDGA has updated the official rules of disc golf. Here's a breakdown on putting. For a putt to count as completing the hole, it must enter the target above the basket and below the top and end up supported by the basket. It's helpful to think of a plane around the basket. If a disc breaks that plane and ends up supported by the target, it counts, even if it's hanging on the outside. I wouldn't aim for hanging on the outside though. It's much better just to hit the middle. Stay tuned for more rules updates here at the 2018 Glass Blown Open.
Drew Gibson here on hole number 6. I know over the last few days we talked about this being one of the easiest holes relative to par. This might be the last time we can make that claim. Is that still true here, Robert?
It is in fact playing as the second easiest hole in the course today. Our next hole, hole 7, playing a third of a stroke under par. Hole 6 playing at 2.72, so 0.28 strokes under par. Gibson's shot comes up a bit short and left of the basket, possibly 25 feet. Wysocki remarks that there's no wind now and makes a disc change. And I believe that's Ricky's Opto-X Triple X, which is insanely overstable. And it's a good disc change. He settles within 10 feet. And Simon's disc hasn't gotten the ground action that he had hoped for. He'll be outside circle 1.
Eagle keeps it relatively low. He's going to try the same skip, but the same result as Simon Lizotte. He's going to be short here on hole number 6. What we can do, we're going to take a look at the scores on the MPO side and see where everyone shakes out. Drew Gibson has now broken out to a 2-stroke advantage over Eagle McMahon. They had started the day tied for first place. Wysocki at 17. AJ Risley continues to charge up that leaderboard. He has put himself in a massive tie now for 4th place, along with Simon Lizotte, Nate Sexton, Grady Shue, and Nate Doss.
We're back here on hole 7 at Peter Pan Park. Paige Pierce is behind a tree from the camera's perspective. Hole 7 has 3 trees within just a few feet of the basket, so missing a drive long and left or even just short and on the right side likely will put players in a position where they're stymied on their putts. They have to throw an angle that they're not accustomed to.
This is Simon Lizotte for birdie from 38 feet.
He spun it beautifully, but just kept it on the left side of the basket. As you can see, our players walk over that grass. The grass is a bit thicker on the right side of the circle here, so I think that is probably the reason our players just checked instead of skipping.
And eagle is no more than a foot or two closer than what we just saw from Simon. Doesn't look like there's much wind to be reading from the flag. And not drawing any metal at all on that right side is Eagle McMahon. And right now he's looking like he may lose another stroke here to Drew Gibson. And speaking of eagles, U-Disc Josh is telling us that Paul McBeth had just eagled hole number 7 with a 102-foot throw-in. So on this next hole, Paul McBeth cards the eagle with a 102-foot throw-in. So I guess that hole did just get a little bit easier statistically.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And a 102-foot throw-in means that he mashed a drive. We'll get to see that shortly. Eagles putt is up and in for par. Just a quick clarification, we don't have footage of McBeth's throw-in, but we'll get to gauge our distances from our lead card competitors. Gibson unable to stretch his lead to 3 shots. He'll have to settle for par here as Ricky walks up to a tap-in birdie. Ricky will move within 3 shots of lead.
I think somebody would have lost a very significant bet had they said the lead card will move through hole number 6 with 3 pars and 1 birdie. I don't think anyone anticipated as much. I think we can take a look at hole number 7's hole preview here of what we were just talking about. Paul McBeth, like you said, the long 102-foot eagle throw-in, but 659 feet.
Some quick math means that he threw a 557-foot drive, approximately.
That's
That's
incredibly impressive, and there's
far.
OB both left and right on hole number 7. However, like you said, this is playing as one of the easiest holes on the course. We'll see how our lead card. We also just talked about hole 6 being relatively easy, and they walked away just 1 under par on that hole.
That's right, and I'm kind of surprised, especially to see Simon and Eagle not take birdies there. I guess they just hung their hyzers out a bit wide and didn't get the skip that they were anticipating. Nevertheless, maybe they won't be kicking themselves because they're professionals, but I think they'll be upset with a missed opportunity for birdie there.
When you look back at the scorecard and you think, where did I miss an opportunity?
Yeah, you count hole
number
6
6
as a
is
miss.
like, yeah, that's one that you've got to get. So we're here with Ricky Wysocki and the lone birdie from hole 6. Ricky sits at 18 under par and currently in 3rd place.
And Ricky has hit the tree on the right side of the fairway, but there is a bit of land surrounding the tree that is safe. He'll likely find that area. He might encounter some trouble for his 2nd shot up to the basket.
And Drew taking a, well, I'll say a James Conrad-like run up here. James Conrad known for a very lengthy run up. Looks like Drew is doing just the same. Maybe trying to get a little bit more on this one.
And this is the same, I believe this is a star destroyer, the same disc that Drew threw on hole 2 when he absolutely smashed his drive. And he's done the same here. That's inside of 102 feet, so he has outdriven Macbeth on this hole. He'll likely be somewhere between 70 and 90 feet for a look at eagle. Simon takes more of the low straight line approach, but it's staying in the air beautifully. Even with the power that Simon has, that's come up 40 or 50 short of Gibson's drive.
Eagle McMahon remains at 19 under par after the par on the previous hole.
It's a shorter run up for McMahon. Who needs, I guess, not much run up to clear the ditch and give himself an easier look at a birdie 3.
So some very, well, I want to say interesting, but some great drives there. Not so much in terms of craziness. Anything taking place out there, we haven't seen anyone fall off really hard. We haven't seen anyone run away with it. Kind of par for the course, to use the cliche.
Yeah, so far we haven't had a lot of our separator holes. I would say hole 5 plays relatively difficult for most of the field, but with the distance and control that these competitors have, they can find a couple of birdies or at least a nice par save even if they do go out of bounds. I think we're going to run into a little bit more separation once we get toward the back. There is a little bit more out of bounds to be found and some strokes to be gained and lost.
Well, I think what we can do is take a look at some of the statistics that you find on our lead card. Of course, all thanks to udisclive.com. We can see where our Circle 2 in regulation is. Drew Gibson leading that at 83%. He's also leading the Circle 1 in regulation at 62%. Eagle McMahon, our best scrambler, at 88%. And Drew Gibson, I think it's fair to say Drew wouldn't say, oh, I plan to be leading the Circle 1 putting statistic on any given weekend, but he is currently at 91%, and Ricky Wysocki sitting at 57%. So some great and very interesting information thanks to udisclive.com.
We've arrived at Ricky's disc, and it's kicked far enough back from the tree that he's opened up a forehand hyzer to the basket. And he skipped almost chain high and a bit past. That'll leave him a bit of a pretty short putt for his look at birdie 3.
And as they move up the fairway, we're able to check over at Peter Pan Park. This is Sarah Hokum with a jumper that, just like we saw a few holes ago, a little bit short, giving it a good run, but coming up short of the pin. This will be Emily Beach putting on hole number 8, a very famous hole number 8.
Affectionately known as Monkey Island hole. You do have to land safe in the island to move there, otherwise you proceed to a drop zone. The bottom corner of our screen, we see Eagle just lay up his putt. Emily Beach with a huge birdie conversion. Bit of a shaky start for Beach, but she's charging back. Nice putt there.
And again, on the men's side, just a couple of approaches that we've seen a moment ago. We'll cut back here. This is Drew Gibson for his long attempt and short, but Lisa Fakis on the lower bottom left side of your screen converts.
I'm a bit surprised to see Gibson not take a more aggressive line at that. Obviously, 3 is a great score. Anytime you get birdie, that's good. But, I mean, being inside 80 feet, I thought he'd take a little bit more aggressive run. Off screen, we see Paige Pierce drop in for her birdie on hole 8 as well, likely leaving Sarah Hokum as the lone 3. Ricky Wysocki's dagger dances around the chains and stays inside. That'll be a birdie 3.
And as Eagle converts on his birdie, we see the wind from the PDGA flags blowing behind the competitors as they're about to move over toward the clubhouse. And a tap-in birdie there by Drew Gibson. Let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Excuse me, sir. Can you tell me how close I am to the nearest gas station?
Yeah, it's about a par 4 down Lincoln Street.
Pardon me, what?
Well, most people say it's par 5, but I've played a lot of disc golf.
Never mind. Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone. Robert McCall and Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, here in studio at the 2018 Glass Blown Open presented by Dynamic Disc. It's a PDGA National Tour event, so we're seeing on the professional side, the men and the women are playing in the National Tour. Everyone else is playing in a PDGA A tier, and not just a PDGA A tier. This is the largest event in PDGA history at more than 1,600 competitors. I feel like Emporia is kind of bursting at the seams, and that's not a joke about my diet or what's going on with my stomach here. I feel like we're bursting at the seams here. So many people coming into town and enjoying everything Emporia has to offer.
Absolutely, and I love getting to host people here in Emporia. It's one of I moved up here from Austin, Texas, and I had attended the Glass Blown Open a couple of times to work and to commentate and things like that. And it's just been incredible to see how the city opens its arms and rolls out the red carpet for disc golfers, allowing us to shut down a stretch of Main Street, a stretch of commercial for our block party. It's just been really, really fun for me, and I wouldn't like to have this tournament anywhere else.
Ricky Wysocki with the honors here on hole number 8. He is in the fairway. He's short. That will likely be a layup of sorts to the basket. He's probably going to be looking at a par from there unless he gets really aggressive. This is Drew Gibson.
Gibson looks to be taking a more conservative angle. Looks as if he's just settled in bounds by the cart path left. Gibson did go OB right on this hole yesterday, so making a bit of an adjustment with the opposite wind. Simon Lizotte has hung his hyzer way too high, and that is tracking left. And he's found the water on the left side of the fairway. Quick shout out to our current hot round of the day, Big Germ, Jeremy Coling, coming in with a 10 under 53. Germ struggled in round 2, but found a little bit of his stride today. So congrats to you, Big Germ. An eagle with a conservative forehand down the left side of the fairway. He'll get a skip toward the middle and settle approximately 80 feet from the basket.
Earlier, we caught up with Simon Lizotte. Let's see what he had to say.
What are your thoughts on some of the changes they made out at Country Club this year versus past years?
I think they made it a lot tougher. I don't remember because we didn't play it last year because of the storm, and then the last time I played it was 2 years ago, and my brain doesn't function 2 years back. I mean, I kind of remember it from also like 4 years ago, but I really like the new hole 1. I think that's a great starting hole to get like the nerves out. It's just like 2 big crushes and then a pretty fair eagle/birdie chance, for me at least. And the other changes, I don't think that much changed. I think they pulled maybe some OB lines a little tighter, and like here and there, like a slight little change, like 1 new or 2 new holes, but everything else seemed pretty familiar for the most part.
So Simon Lizotte talking about some of the changes that we've seen here at the Country Club, and also we spoke earlier of all 3 rounds being here at the Country Club. We've got Ricky Wysocki throwing his approach shot. Again, this used to be hole number 1 from a slightly different tee pad, as Wysocki puts it up right next to the basket.
And I love the change on this hole because it shortens up the hole a little bit more and makes it more attackable, but now it's a lot more high risk, high reward. Whereas before, it was just very few people carded birdie 2s from the pool deck. So I love the change here.
And Eagle discussing whether or not he's out. It looks like he is. He'll be throwing next.
And nothing more than a layup from Eagle right there. A smart play from his position. The green is deceptive behind the basket as it can run away toward the water quickly. Gibson pokes his approach around the trees.
And as he does that, I took a quick look at the scoring spread that we find here on hole number 8. Interesting to note, only 6% of the field have carded the birdie 2. 62% of the field, however, have carded the par, and 32% have carded worse than par. So playing as the 6th most difficult with very few birdies given up.
And Simon's 3rd from the water's edge catches half and half on the front rim of the basket. Beautiful bid, but he'll settle for 4. Ricky is up and in for a 3. Gibson will do the same.
And we're catching back up on hole number 9 at Peter Pan. The battle continues, of course, in the FPO division. As of right now, Lisa Fakis has remained bogeyless throughout the first 8 holes. She has 2 birdies and no bogeys. And this will be Paige Pierce lining up her birdie attempt.
And Pierce's putting stroke is good from 25.
That momentarily will put Paige Pierce to 4 under par.
Holcomb is in for par here. With the birdie on hole 9, Paige Pierce will take a 1-stroke lead over Lisa Fakis, with Emily Beach 4 back of the lead, tied with Sarah Holcomb at even on the weekend.
So we're watching the women clear out on hole number 9. We're going to go to a shot of the overall scores to see how things are shaking out. After that, or before we get there first, let's take a look at the disc stats comparison from UDisc. We're seeing that Paige Pierce is besting the field, at least on this card, in Circle 2 in regulation, Circle 1 in regulation, and Circle 2 putting. What jumps out at you here?
The thing that you can take from this is Paige Pierce is besting everyone else on her card by 18% or more for Circle 2 in regulation. If you're new to golf or disc golf stats, that means that she was inside Circle 2 with an opportunity at birdie. So if it's a par 3, she was inside Circle 2 on her first shot. If it's a par 4, she's inside Circle 2 on her second. So driving and throwing wise, Paige Pierce is putting herself in position to score, and she also leads this card Circle 1 in regulation. The place where I think she's losing some strokes, and you can see below, is that her Circle 1 putting percentage is at 77%. That's the worst on the lead card for this weekend. Emily Beach sitting at 90%, which is a great way to make up some strokes. proving that even, a 400-foot drive and a 5-foot putt, they're both worth one throw.
Let's take a look real quickly at the scores. We mentioned Paige Pierce with the birdie on the previous hole. She is 1 down on the round and sits at 4 under par in the outright lead. Lisa Fakis is at 3 down overall, sits in second place, and in a tie for third is Sarah Holcomb and Emily Beach. They are both at even. We'll have to keep an eye on it. I don't see any of the other women from the second card making a charge at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on that. For now, let's head back to hole 9 with Ricky Wysocki.
And with the left-to-right crosswind, Ricky opts for a forehand off the tee just to get something safe in the fairway. If you were with us for the coverage yesterday, you may remember Ricky took a hyzer out over the cart path that hit a tree and stayed out of bounds. Gibson's lining up what looks like a straight to turnover. A difficult angle with the right to left wind. Great angle by Gibson over the hill there.
Eagle playing the forehand after a conversation you and I had yesterday about finishing right or left on this hole as to which one you would prefer. There's OB water on that left side and OB cart path on the right. This is Simon Lizotte's tee shot.
Lizotte's tee shot is way down the fairway.
Let's listen to a word from our sponsor as they move down on hole 9.
What did you just do?
I'm stamping this misprint.
Yeah, but you triple stamped the double stamp.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Can't too.
Cannot.
Can't too.
Cannot.
Can't too.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You can't triple stamp a double stamp. You can't, Eric!
Guys, enough!
You want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
The Maverick is the newest understable fairway driver that anyone of any skill level can find use for. Whether you're a top pro or a brand new disc golfer, the Maverick is going to be a great flyer for you. With a speed 7, glide of 4, turn of -1.5, and a fade of 2, this disc is all about angle control. With exceptional glide and a comfortable feel in the hand, the Maverick is going to become your go-to disc, whether you need a hyzer flip in the woods, a long turnover, or just a laser beam straight shot. Do your scorecards a favor.
We're back at hole 9 here at Emporia Country Club. First to throw is Ricky Wysocki. He's taken a forehand felon. Skipped it a bit deep of the basket, approximately 25 feet. Just a moment ago, we got confirmation that Drew Gibson's drive had in fact skipped out of bounds into the water left. That's his second day in a row of making that mistake. He does have a right to left crosswind to contend with off the tee, and this fairway slopes right to left toward the water. Eagles hyzer is wide. It sits right under the basket. Gibson confirming his spot after throwing out of bounds with his fellow competitors. Here's a bit of assistance from the spotter, and thank you to all the spotters and volunteers who are out at the Glassblown Open this year. And a big shout out to Jackie Morris for coordinating all of our volunteers this week.
Did she get a special shout out for having a birthday as well?
We shouted her out yesterday, but
all right.
Yeah, so
we won't do it again then.
Sorry, Jackie Morris. we won't make your name of note in this broadcast today. Lizotte with a long spin to the basket. He'll sit down just behind, and he'll drop in for his par 3 here. As we've noted earlier this week, hole 9, the longest par 3 on the course, in my opinion, plays more like a par 4. We see very, very few birdie 2s on hole 9 this weekend.
Also great to see the gallery all taking in the action. And the country club really just makes for one of the most scenic courses that you could possibly take in live disc golf if you're out there. We of course hear people talking about, well, you'd love to see them shape their shots a little bit more through some really tight, narrow, wooded fairways. And I think everybody does love that style of golf on any given weekend, as Ricky finds the bottom of the basket for his par. However, one of the challenges with having that style of golf is both live coverage as well as the spectators. And so I feel like with the OBs that come into play on this course, there is still the challenge of shaping a shot, finding yourself inbounds. There's a premium placed on the fairway, and our competitors have a little bit more breathing room from the spectators, and everyone can go out there and enjoy themselves on a beautiful 75-degree Saturday in Emporia.
Yeah, as we've talked about before, the weather is usually a bit of an issue here at the Glassblown Open. I don't know if you've kept
You said
up
that,
with,
not me.
we've kept. I don't know if you've kept up with years past of the Glassblown Open, but we've had storms last year, lightning, rain, that we had to cancel the final day of competition, which nobody wanted to do. It was an agonizing decision at the time. And the Glassblown Open has become synonymous with gale force winds approaching tornado level winds from time to time. And this year we've been blessed with pretty ideal weather, especially for Emporia.
I apologize. I don't recall the exact name, but someone had said their first time here, they got off the plane in Kansas City and they heard tornado sirens. And as they got back on their plane a week later, they were hearing tornado sirens again. So it kind of bookended their weekend. And those are some of the risks that we have. However, this week, blessed with beautiful weather. Tonight is going to be great for the block party and the after party. And really looking forward to everything else as we wrap this up in the next 12 to 24 hours, depending on how crazy you want to get.
That's right. And the answer to that is probably most people are going to get pretty crazy tonight at the block party. It's, again, the Glassblown Open is more than just a disc golf tournament. It's really a festival. We have events every day starting the Saturday before the tournament starts. We have C-tiers starting. And I don't remember the exact number, but if you played the C-tiers that we had every day and played the event, you'd have, it was somewhere between 8 to 10 rated rounds throughout this week, possibly even a few more. And so if you haven't come out here, you need to come check it out. I know that I work for Dynamic Discs, and I guess you could call me a homer for saying this, but I enjoy this tournament more than any other in the world. I love getting to be a part of it. So if you haven't made plans for the 2019 Glassblown Open, put it on your calendar, come out and check it out. We promise you won't be disappointed.
I completely agree with all of that. SmashBoxxTV loves being here. I know all of the other post-production, media crews love being here. The spectators, the gallery, just so many people. Some people I know drove as far as from Wisconsin yesterday just so that they could be here today and participate in the block party and in the vending. There's just so many opportunities no matter what skill level you are or how big of a fan or competitor that you are. So please make sure you put it on your calendar. Looks like we have Grady Shue, one of our early round leaders or early event leaders. And I think we can see why.
That's a beautiful putt from Grady. Tucked up on the OB woods. Has to throw a bit of an Anheuser putt. I don't believe that's his natural putt release. So that's beautifully played by him. Macbeth stabs his putter into the heart. That'll likely be for a birdie 3. Here we have the disc golf boy, AJ Risley.
AJ, a recent addition to Team Dynamic Disc here during the beginning of the 2018 season, and he has been playing some really good golf. If you check out his statistics on PDGA.com, you'll see that over the last few years, he has continually increased his player rating, solid putting such as that. He has done very well. And
nods to the crowd with a hop to the basket. AJ is a character if you haven't met him before. That's probably
very polite
that's a polite way to put it. Yeah,
as we love some AJ Risley and of the all too well, I should say patented flip there by Nate Sexton. We know that's certainly him putting with that straddle stance and off the top by Sexton. That one getting away from him just a little bit, and he'll tap out on hole number 10. Ricky Wysocki seems to be queued up and just about ready to go on the tee. Wysocki currently sitting in third place at 19 under par.
It's 2 strokes off of Drew Gibson's lead. Wysocki asking for his disc to sit, but I think that was premature ask as he's put it directly in the center of the fairway. I understand Wysocki's sentiment, though. If a disc is left kind of high on this fairway, since you are throwing downhill and back up, it's really easy for those discs to leak left over the out-of-bounds path, which takes you to a drop zone. And it's a doable up and down. Certainly not a very long forehand, but probably 250 feet from the drop zone to a green surrounded by out-of-bounds. McMahon has turned his forehand over to the left, waiting for that to move back to the right, and it has done so beautifully. Lizotte throws a sky Anheuser. Extremely aggressive shot, perhaps trying to go over all of the trees. He's gotten a red flag from the spotter.
We hear Lizotte say a little high, and as you said, very aggressive.
Maybe a bit of an
not working
understatement.
out. Drew Gibson, your current leader at 21 under par. As we watch Drew get ready, one has to start thinking about when have we seen Drew Gibson take down a very large title, one of this size at least. That's something to think about, and we'll get back to you.
I believe Drew's only won a couple of A tiers, no National Tour events to date, and he does find the OB cart path on the left side of the fairway. We'll catch back up with the women on hole 11 at Peter Pan Park. Emily Beach on the tee, and she has a distinct advantage being a left-handed player. This hole shapes perfectly for a low left-hand hyzer, but she's just played it a bit too early to the right and has caught a tree in the center of the fairway. This is Sarah Hokum on the tee. Lisa Fakis has already thrown her drive, and she is parked under the basket. Hokum's drive taking a great skip and hitting the pole, settling 3 feet from the basket. Last tee will be Paige Pierce. She'll be throwing a turnover here. Paige has put a beautiful angle on this disc. And she settled it within 8 feet of the basket. 3 great drives from our female competitors today.
We're heading back over to catch up with Eagle McMahon.
McMahon takes a smooth forehand toward the basket.
For a moment there, I was wondering if we're going to see one of those skips that we saw yesterday from hole number 14.
That's right. Instead, he's come up a bit short and close to the OB, but will be inside the circle putting for 3. Next to throw will be Drew Gibson from the drop zone. The drop zone actually plays outside of the, Simon Lizotte also went out of bounds. All out of bounds drives proceed to the drop zone on hole 10.
And is that just to eliminate the ambiguity of where they were last in bounds?
I believe that's the case, yeah. Simon puts his drive just inside circle 1.
And I really just asked that so I could throw out the word ambiguity. I think it's a big word for me here today, Robert. It's been a long week.
Did you whip out the thesaurus for that one? Gibson plays a hyzer toward the out of bounds and skipped it inside 15 feet.
Simon thanking one of the spotters for the help and assistance here as an easy forehand approach there by Wysocki.
And Wysocki's approach is 5 feet from the basket with his patented harp. I guess it's not actually patented like he owns the patent on it, but he throws them a lot. Let's just put it that way. It's a colloquialism, okay?
You're hurting my head.
Well.
You are hurting my head here, Robert. I have to think about these syllables that you're spitting at me here. So something worth asking right now as Simon's stepping up to his putt is, what do you feel like the mindset of the group is right now? It seems as if there's not a lot of energy going on out there. I don't know if everyone's just really tense or in the moment of fierce competition, but it seems like the energy is a little low. Is that true? Is that what you would perceive it as?
It's difficult to tell from being in the booth here instead of on the course. I do know that we have guys who are pretty good friends off the course for the most part, competing in a tense situation, and so I don't know. It's difficult to tell. There's not a lot of chitter chatter. Let's put it that way. This will not be voted most talkative card. Eagle's excited to drop in his birdie 3 there and gives the crowd a fist pump. And Ricky doesn't even give the crowd a wave. I mean,
no,
this may be a new Wysocki. He's
I don't know.
Even more focused than normal. I didn't know that was possible.
Whether Ricky scores well on a hole or not, he's just so used to giving that, that kind of head nod and wave as he's walking away from the hole. What we can do is we can take a look at the scores. We can see what's happening here in the top 10. And I see a lot of T's out there. McMahon and Gibson tied now for first place. They're both 4 under through 10 holes. Wysocki sits just 1 behind them, so very tight there. AJ Risley continues to charge up the leaderboard. He's up 3 spots today, sitting at -18. And then Grady Shue, Kevin Jones, Simon Lizotte, Nate Sexton, Colton Montgomery, and Nate Doss all tied for 7th place. Or correction, a few of them tied for 7th. Grady and Kevin both tied for 5th. So exciting to see Simon Lizotte dropping down. He's dropped 4 spots into that tie for 7th. Nate Sexton has dropped down 2 spots. And not seen on this top 10 now, struggling a little bit here today, is Paul McBeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, McBeth hasn't had a great round to his standards. Struggled a bit out of the gate. We heard of his eagle throw in on hole 7, but right now McBeth sits at just 1 under par for this round, starting out with a birdie on hole 1, bogeying hole 2, and then triple on hole 3. So he's had to birdie 3 holes in the next few just to get back under par. Here we have Wysocki playing a turnover on hole 11, a downhill 364-foot hole, and he's played it beautifully. He'll be deep of the basket. Yesterday, Wysocki went out of bounds early right and just casually threw in a 60-footer to save his par 3. It's likely that he betters that score by 1 today.
I believe we also see Stu Mullenberg taking some photographs for the flight record. You'll find him on Instagram and in a number of other places.
Eagles played a bit of a straighter shot than Wysocki's, less right movement, but has beat the last Guardian trees and settled approximately 40 or 45 feet from the basket. And Simon with a smooth turnover, tracking right. Oh, and Lizotte's disc couldn't have been more than a foot from the cage. Looks as if it'll settle a bit deep of the basket, 30 to 35 feet. And a bit of deja vu as Gibson shows off his vertical yet again. If disc golf doesn't work out, maybe the Lakers are looking for a new point guard.
Letting out
Drew doesn't love it out of his hand. It is leaking left. There is out of bounds on the fairway left. And he'll likely be straddling the line. Looks like he's gotten a green flag and will be safe.
And now we'll head back over to the women. And this is the second card as we're watching some approach shots. I believe I saw Ellen Widboom. I believe that's who that was a moment ago, getting a red flag, meaning she's thrown out of bounds.
Hole 12 is the peninsula hole here at Peter Pan Park. And it's one of the more difficult holes to par. For me, it's a relatively easy 3 if you just play out to the right side safe and pitch up onto the peninsula. However, if you decide to get aggressive, from the front of the peninsula to the back can't be more than 25 or possibly 30 feet. All out of bounds tee shots go to the drop zone on the far left side, which is where I believe this is Jessica Weiss walking to the drop zone right now. It's approximately 70 feet to the basket with one large tree trunk in between your lie and the basket. It's almost an automatic 4, assuming that you throw a good shot from the drop zone. Weiss plays that shot beautifully and will settle under the basket.
And it looks as if Drew Gibson has come up short of the out of bounds. Maybe not fully utilizing that meter, but he's throwing out and around, so he must have had a little obstruction from that side.
Eagle McMahon looks to be putting from approximately 35 feet, perhaps just inside of that. And his putt is just high, doesn't get the drop that he needs. Takes a kick off of the band, and he'll have a short putt to clean up his par. Lizotte wastes no time and puts in his putt for birdie 2 after nearly hitting the cage on his drive. And with that putt, Wysocki grabs a share of the lead.
And there's the wave to the crowd. I think there was even a smile. Love to see it by Ricky Wysocki.
We'll leave hole 11 with 2 pars and 2 birdies and move to the brand new hole 12.
And I still have to go from back here. It's okay. I tried to tell you guys once, but you're a little worried about your putters, so it's not a big deal.
All right, and Lauren Butler looks like she may have thrown out of bounds and then had to go to the drop zone. She was just clarifying a little bit there that she still had to throw from that spot just yet.
And I believe, so the drop zone is actually on the other end of the peninsula. I believe this would be Lauren's drive, and she's just pitching up to take a par.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, no problem. And a drop-in 3 here is great. I played this hole for a 3. I've gotten substantially more 4s on it than I've gotten 2s. So I like to have kind of a jump putt, 60 or 70 feet to the right side is a good safe play.
And we're watching Ellen Widboom try to retrieve what I believe is her putter here. And we'll wish her the best of luck. We'll give you an update if we get the result there. It doesn't look like she's able to locate it. But this is A.J. Risley.
Risley's birdie bid is short and left. It's Grady's shoe for birdie. Grady converts and will move within 4 shots of the lead, sitting at 17 under par in 5th place. And Paul Macbeth's birdie putt is in. He'll be in 12th place, 14 under par on the weekend, 2 under par for the day. Nate Sexton is tapping in for bogey. Hole 12 has an out-of-bounds fairway to the right and golf green long and to the right, as well as cart path to the left. Any out-of-bounds tee shots will go to the drop zone. So Sexton has approached within 10 feet and tapped in for bogey, and that'll be A.J. Risley tapping in for par. Look at this gallery following our chase card as well as our lead card. Several hundred in the gallery today. Really exciting to see people out enjoying disc golf. One of the cool things that I got to see was for the opening ceremonies as well as the players meeting, we had a lot of local Emporians, not disc golfers, but just people who live here, who work at businesses here, who have come out to check out the festivities and be a part of the action here. So if you are still out, we thank you for coming to check out the Glassblown Open. We thank you so much for being a part of our gallery, and we're excited to see you at the block party tonight.
Wysocki looks like he might be changing things up a little bit. And speaking of changes, Wysocki recently switching sponsorships and is now part of the Zuka Kart family.
That's correct. He's hung this drive fairly wide to the right, and it has come to rest in bounds, but well right of his intended target. Next to tee will be Lizotte. Lizotte's hyzer is much higher than Ricky's, with a sharper angle. We'll have to wait on the result of that shot. Eagle McMahon in a 3-way tie for first. Eagle swings his drive very wide, spiking back toward the basket. And I believe he's landed near Rick's drive.
Drew Gibson, who also sits at 21 under par in a 3-way tie for first place.
Gibson's thrown the best angle of the bunch if it'll just get down. Get down it has. That is parked.
We'll move to a little bit quieter setting that we find over at Peter Pan Park, hole number 12. I believe we're going to have our lead card of women teeing here. Looks like Lisa Fakis has the honors. Lisa in a tie for first place right now. Lisa has birdied 4 of her last 5 holes. Lisa's looking with a forehand, and this is pretty much just a layup play. You talked about that a little earlier as to being aggressive and going after the green or not, but when you're throwing a forehand of that nature, that's signaling to everyone that you're playing for the 3.
That's correct. In order to get to this green, you kind of have to flex a forehand out over the water. If you are playing a flat forehand, more than likely you're just trying to play up to the flat on the right side of the green.
No spoilers here. Sarah Hokum throwing a forehand.
And Hokum's played the flex line as well just to get a bit more distance down the fairway. She'll have a more open look at the basket than Fakis.
Co-leader in Paige Pierce. Is Paige going to be running at this?
I hope she doesn't, but if I know Paige, I bet she is.
And
She's thrown a Marshall straight at the peninsula.
Oh.
And has landed safe after hitting one of the Cypress knees. Oh my goodness. What a gutsy shot from Paige.
And a little bit of a break there as Paige Pierce finds herself inbounds on the peninsula. This is Emily Beach.
And Beach plays a slight turnover that's going to finish right for. Oh my goodness, and hits the pole? Are you serious? These women are holding nothing back. Incredible. We see in the we see from our picture-in-picture, we've got both Ricky and Eagle who just had to lay up for their pars. I believe it's a drop zone for any drive that ends up out of bounds. Lizotte should not be putting from here. He should be back at the drop zone.
Drop zone, or do you know that or not? I thought that was unpaid.
Michael Downs from the PDGA stepping in.
Drive must come to rest on island. If not, proceed to drop zone with 1 short penalty. From drop zone, drive must also come to rest.
So while he threw a great drive that just trickled out of bounds left, Lizotte will have to move back to the drop zone. Throw his shot from the drop zone as a fan, an adoring fan says, "Make it anyway, Simon." I like it. I like the enthusiasm. That's hilarious.
Beautiful sunny day. I don't believe I see any clouds in the sky out there at the Emporia Country Club. We're glad you're tuned in and joined us here for the live broadcast of the concluding round of the 2018 Glass Blown Open. Please go out and share the link with everyone. Let them know you're watching live disc golf here on SmashBoxxTV. And a perfect approach by Simon Lizotte.
That'll secure his bogey 4, but certainly not the score he's looking to take on a 350-foot hyzer. Ricky's going to tap in for his 3 along with Eagle. And then Drew will be tapping in his birdie 2. We'll catch up with the women here at Peter Pan Park. This is Sarah Hokum for her birdie putt.
Sarah Hokum is outstretched and also dealing with the sign that is directly in front of her.
She's left it just a bit low. As I said before, 3 is almost never losing strokes here, except for if you have Emily Beach and Paige Pierce on your card, both of whom ran the island, one of whom hit one of the Cypress knees and stayed in bounds, the other of whom hit the pole on the fly. Incredible shots by these 2 competitors. And Pierce converts her birdie, and that is a statement to the card.
I stated a few moments ago that Lisa Fakis had birdied 4 of the last 5. And Paige Pierce says, that's great and all, but I've got some birdies to get on my own as well. They both started out a little bit slow as Lisa taps in. Paige Pierce is going to have the one-stroke advantage. This is Emily for a short tap in after hitting the pole.
That is an incredible birdie. A foot to the right, a foot to the left. That disc goes in the water, and Emily goes to the drop zone. But call it pinpoint accuracy or call it luck, she finds herself collecting a birdie. And I love seeing the aggressive play get paid off. I love getting to see that.
Well, they will move on to hole number 13, traveling to the last 1/3 of the course. So a great battle taking place over on the FPO side. And, of course, a great battle taking place here on the MPO side. So not only do we have great weather, record attendance, beautiful settings, but we also have very competitive rounds taking place on both the men's and the women's side.
And this is exactly how you'd like to have it for a tournament like this. It's all well and good when we see dominant performances by our sport's top competitors, but I love getting to see people in the fray all the way down to the end and players who are having to convert shots under pressure. Right now we've got Drew Gibson on the tee.
If anyone wants to talk about pressure, it's where Drew Gibson is right now. We spoke of it earlier.
One-shot lead.
Not taken down a significantly large-scale event. This would certainly be the largest win of his life if he can somehow hold on for the next 6 holes.
Good tee shot for Gibson will put him inside the circle. Ricky is asking for a skip on his disc, and he has gotten it. He needs that to settle safe, and it has.
Within that clap, I think I subtly heard a let's go. That's something that Ricky would...
One of these. Let's go.
Yeah. Great shot by Ricky Wysocki. This is Eagle McMahon sitting at 21 under par.
McMahon's drive takes a little bit more of the cart path out of bounds out of play, but has finished left. He'll be the farthest out of our competitors so far. And Lizotte has hung his drive wide again, almost a carbon copy of yesterday. He needs a big skip, and he has gotten it today. That'll put him inside the circle, putting for birdie 2. We'll rejoin the ladies here on hole 13 at Peter Pan Park. This is a par 4, 450 feet. This is a placement shot followed by a shot over the green for most of our competitors. We'll see a lot of our competitors throw a putter or a mid-range off the tee just to control their distance and set themselves up in a good spot to attack the basket over the water with a shot anywhere from 200 to 180 feet. Just missed Paige Pierce's drive with her Blend Marshall. Here's Lisa Fakis, who's turned hers a bit to the right. Just missed a tree and skipped a little bit back left. And if we were correct earlier, this is a jokery for Sarah Hokum. Looks as if she's just lining up a straight forehand approach. Sarah hasn't quite hit the angle she wanted and is finished out to the right. For a dominant backhand player, there is a backhand hyzer skip up to the basket, but Hokum vastly prefers the forehand, so we'll see what kind of creativity she can come up with. McMahon with a huge putt, hopping it into the basket.
Wow. Eagle McMahon says, I am here and I'm ready. I'm not going away. Drew Gibson, you might be close, but I'm going to make the putt, keep the pressure on you. They exchange the high fives. And Drew Gibson is just asking for the gallery behind him to settle down. And that's a pro tip for everyone out there from a spectator point of view. You are more than welcome to stand in their line of sight if you have to. The real key is just don't move. Do not make any movements whatsoever, as that is more distracting to the players. They know you're there. You just simply can't move. And Drew answers with a birdie.
And he'll regain a one-throw lead with that birdie putt. Our other two competitors are inside Gibson's putt, which means we're looking at a likely all-star on hole 13 here. I'd put some pretty good money that this is the only all-star we see on the weekend.
Oh, and Wysocki, Drew goes over to give him a little bit of a hug. Wysocki actually held his breath for a moment as he waited for that to find the bottom of the basket. Drew's out there handing out big hugs. That's adorable. I like it. I love the sportsmanship. I love the camaraderie. These guys, maybe that tone that I talked about just a few holes ago.
Maybe we're loosening up a bit.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to comment that Smashbox had already taken the patent for big hugs, but
that would be credited to Dynamite Dana Vici, who I know is out there consuming the live broadcast, along with thousands of others that are consuming the broadcast. Of course, we want you to go out and like and share it. Let everyone know you're watching live disc golf. This clearly is going to be a very competitive finish among our men and women, as we're seeing the women compete over at Peter Pan and the men are at the Emporia Country Club. Follow along. udisclive.com is another place to check out the action. We're giving you the scores as best as we can for, say, the top 10 and some of the movers. We want you to be able to see everyone out there. In fact, let's take a look at what we're seeing from the men's scores as they are moving into position for their next tee shot. Drew Gibson still your leader. Wysocki and Eagle McMahon sitting at 22 under par, just behind them. They've distanced themselves. We see Kevin Jones and A.J. Risley are charging. I think you saw Kevin. How many birdies in a row does he have right now?
Yeah, Kevin Jones has strung together 6 straight birdies, starting at hole 10 through hole 15. That is an impressive stretch of the course to card 6 birdies on. So well played, Kevin. He sits at 8 under par on the round, bogey free as well. We also see A.J. Risley sitting at 7 under par, bogey free, tied for 4th place. Both Eagle McMahon and Ricky Wysocki are bogey free on the round as well. I think we've got a couple of holes that'll separate and create some distance between our top competitors coming up. Those will be holes 14 and 16. Hole 14 plays as a par 4. I'd say it's a relatively difficult 3 unless you get great distance off the tee. And hole 16 is our island hole, coming in at approximately 365, 370 feet.
What?
Now,
what?
I don't think we're looking in a mirror, but this is Emily Beach, who's been throwing left-handed all day, lining up a right-hand backhand hyzer and executing it quite well.
Yes, I love it.
That's really well played from where she's standing. I am thoroughly impressed.
How many surprises are we going to see this weekend on the FPO side? Emily Beach not only having a great first 2 rounds to get her here onto this lead card, but 13 holes in, from what we've seen at least, just decides, hey, I've got a righty backhand shot as well.
A casual offhand backhand.
Unbelievable.
Impressive.
Awesome to see by Emily. Paige Pierce looks like she's going to be lining up her shot next.
Looks like she's debating between throwing a forehand over the water or turning over a putter. Pierce has actually thrown her drive a bit farther than she'd like to, and it's kind of obscured her angle a bit to the basket. She's taken a convict on a forehand and played it beautifully, skipped just deep of the basket. She will be inside the circle putting for birdie 3.
And we're moving over here to hole 14 with the men as the women approach their basket on hole number 13 at Peter Pan.
Are we good?
And Ricky, when asked The group is asking whether or not they're okay to throw if the second card is moved along far enough. And I think I heard Ricky just say, they're probably not far enough for me, which is the very cordial and polite thing to do.
I like the gamesmanship, personally.
I'm going to wait for them to clear, is what he should be saying. And this, of course, the famous spot we saw just yesterday, Eagle McMahon with some magic here on hole number 14 at approximately 380 feet, throwing in for the Eagle 2 yesterday. Drew Gibson is on the tee and ready to go as Drew sits at 23 under par.
We hear the audible snap for Gibson as he carries well down the fairway and has put himself in prime position to approach the basket. That is one of the longest air shots you'll see all day.
And Wysocki alerting the crowd in the gallery on the left-hand side, whether he's throwing a roller, which I'm guessing is what he might be lining up here. There is a chance for this to roll out of bounds at some point, and if he does, he wants to make sure that you have plenty of room to roll back in bounds. And
I doubt this will find out of bounds. This is on a beautiful angle. Oh my goodness. And he has flown past Gibson's drive. He needs that to settle down as it's headed toward the white picket fence. And can you believe how far that roller just went?
That has checked up in front of the fence, so he remains inbounds.
He's inside 150 to the basket, so maybe just disregard what I said about this hole being difficult. These guys are making it look easy. Wow. Eagles played a bit more conservative with the forehand out to the right, trying to duplicate yesterday's magic, throwing in his PD2 from approximately 380 feet. For Eagle 2, the only one we've seen all weekend. And Simon lets loose on the outside gap. That roller has a great angle if it continues to carry. And it is now tracking right, but it's going to find some thick grass and cut back to the left. And he's flown Ricky Wysocki's roller.
Unbelievable.
Okay. I know we sound incredulous here. But unless you've played that hole, you don't understand just how far those shots went. That is unbelievable.
The fact that Ricky Wysocki and Simon Lizotte may have something that resembles a jump putt for an eagle is ridiculous.
That's unbelievable. We had perfect wind in one of the practice rounds, and I threw a roller that ended up maybe 200 feet away from the basket on the left side of the fairway. And it was like a once-in-a-lifetime shot for me. And these guys just did it on command on the biggest stage during the final round. Incredible.
Well, they've got it dialed in. And also, speaking of dialed in, Kevin Jones, we see, has birdied yet again and now has 7 in a row. So what we can do is take a look at the scores on the MPO side. And this is what we're looking at. Drew Gibson, 23, Wysocki, and Eagle, 22. We shift down a little bit. Nate Doss moving up 3 spots, but Kevin Jones currently moving up 5 spots into that tie for 4th with A.J. Risley. And what a performance those guys are both putting on here right now. Simon Lizotte continues to fall off the pace, as has Paul Macbeth. And this is Paige Pierce on hole number 14 on the 401-foot, hole 14.
Paige has played her hyzer out to the right, swung it back to the left, and will likely be right around circle's edge putting for birdie 2. Hole 14 will be a bit of a separator hole for a lot of our female competitors. This is just at the edge of the range that they might reach if they get a hold of one, and will likely have a long putt at birdie 2. Some competitors will dissect this hole and just play safe off the tee. Fakis has played a smooth straight shot, finishing to the left. Settled down outside of the tree line, so she'll have an easy look at her birdie 3.
And Going back to the lefty backhand is Emily Beach.
She's finished a bit right of where she'd like to, but we'll have an easy look at 3. On the bottom left of your screen, you see Drew Gibson lining up a forehand into 14's green. He's left it a bit right and short and hit a large tree on the way to the basket. Holcomb's drive is turned over a bit to the left, skips and catches the thick trees over there. She'll have a bit of scrambling to do to get her look at a par 3. We'll catch back up with the men here on hole 14, who would normally be walking to where people's second shots would land, but these are our competitors' drives. Once again, let me reiterate, these are unbelievably long drives that we've just seen. And Ricky's thrown a smooth backhand at the basket. Drop in birdie because he's done so much work off the tee. Simon has the last big tree in the fairway in between his lie and the basket, but looks as if he's lining up a big jump putt. Oh, just short of the basket. I think there's probably a bit of maybe a kind of a sibling rivalry with Eagle and Simon, both sponsored by Discmania, both two of the longest throwers in the world. Eagle carting the Eagle 2 here yesterday. I can only assume Simon wants to take the solo honor of that away from him. This is a big putt for Gibson outside the circle for birdie 3. Gibson's putt catches a branch on the way to the basket, yet still misses high somehow. Really
defying some laws of physics,
yeah, really
there somewhere.
Interesting result. And Eagle is still walking to his second shot. It looks like he threw his forehand approach to the green quite long, trying to replicate yesterday's Eagle throw-in. Eagle does have a bit of a right to left wind, which will aid in lifting his putter toward the basket from his encumbered stance. And Eagle's putt is just off the right side cage.
We're looking at both Drew Gibson and Eagle McMahon taking pars here, so we won't see any movement on their scores, so to speak, as they sit at 23 and 22 under par. However, Ricky Wysocki and Simon Lizotte looking to pick up strokes on them.
And Ricky with an absolute drop-in birdie played the hole to perfection. It's not even perfection. It's kind of like what Simon did on hole 9 last year. You don't even think about that being possible. Extremely well played by Ricky and Simon.
And we're back to the battle here that's taking place on the women's side. Paige Pierce now sits with a 2-stroke advantage over Lisa Fakis as they are moving in on hole number 14. And Paige still has this for birdie as she sits about 45 feet from the pin. Paige could extend her lead to 3 strokes if she were able to convert here. She has birdied 5 of the last 6 holes.
And Paige's bid is just low off the left side of the cage. Just to give you a bit of an idea of the power that Paige Pierce has, this hole measures in at 401 feet, and Paige is throwing a Convict that's her signature disc, which is a fairway driver. She has incredible power, and I asked her about that one day when she was practicing, and she said that that's just the disc and the distance that I feel confident in on this hole. So in case you were wondering if it's good to throw a fairway driver 400 feet, yes. The answer is yes.
If it is possible, which not everyone can achieve that.
Not everybody can do that.
Paige Pierce, however, certainly in that elite class. And Emily is obstructed now. I'm interested to see. I'm expecting a righty putt. No, she's going to be outstretched and still stick with a left-handed putt. She's found a little bit of a gap there. And I have to admit, I'm not sure. Oh, she's just off the front of the basket and gets a really nasty, I think we call those tournament rolls, as they seem to only happen in tournament play. And that one gets away from her. But, of course, her surprising us with the right-handed throw just a few minutes ago. I'm not sure just to what her skill set is from both right and left side, if she could possibly putt right-handed if needed. Great follow-up.
She converts after that bad roll. The other competitors will clean up their putts shortly. Here's Ricky Wysocki, hole 15, 426 feet. He's played a wide hyzer. He's walking it down. He's waiting on that crosswind to bring it over, and it has. It's landed inside the circle, approximately 30 feet away.
Sorry.
Lizotte's hyzer even wider than Ricky's. Oh, he sticks the ground just in front of the basket.
I'm not sure Simon Lizotte even realized just how close he was at first. I would have expected a smile from him on that one, as he's always the crowd pleaser.
Gibson taking his time on his tee shot. He is tied for the lead at 23 under par. A bit lower line from Gibson. And Gibson splashes out for an ace. Unbelievable.
That's about the only way you could have followed up Simon Lizotte's previous shot, is by instead putting it in. And Eagle McMahon has to compose himself. A lot of excitement in the last two shots. But Eagle McMahon has to say, okay, I'm going to be focused, and I need to just throw my shot here. And what?
Eagles just played a boring hyzer.
A boring hyzer.
Didn't hit the basket or anything.
Wow, and what a set of drives that we just saw there on. Wow.
And I feel like we've had quite a few more highlight reel type shots than I've seen in a while this weekend. These competitors are absolutely putting on a show out here at the Emporia Country Club and Peter Pan Park. Man, I wish that ace would have stuck. That's just like it's not like a lifetime achievement ace. You know, these guys can all reach that basket, but that's just a real nasty ace. That's all there is to it.
And we do rejoin the women here on hole number 15 at Peter Pan Park.
Hole 15 plays downhill 393 feet. For the right-hand backhand thrower, it is a late turning shot. Forehand throwers or left-hand throwers have a definite advantage on this hole, able to swing their disc out to the left side and bring it back to the right on its natural flight.
And waiting on whom I believe is Lisa Fakis getting ready to throw her shot. And while she continues to do that, we're going to catch back up, see if we can get another possible star frame here on hole number 15. Wysocki is out at 18 feet.
Yeah, 25 maybe. Ricky is unfazed by Drew's shot. He will retain his share of the lead. He sits at 10 under par on the day with 3 holes to play, looking to set a course record out here at Emporia Country Club. Eagles birdie putt is in, and here's another all-star birdie. I mean, I don't know if you can hear this through the microphone, but I'm just chuckling thinking about all-starring this hole with one person splashing out for ace. Incredible. And Drew gets the adulation he deserves. An incredible shot.
They were nearly looking at going 5 under par with the 4 of them. Very impressive. What also is impressive, we talked over the last few days about how these competitors are playing a single course. They get multiple shots at it. We saw 10 under by 5 competitors during the opening round. No one matched that during the second round. Another part of that story was staying bogey free. And today, right now, we're seeing Ricky Wysocki, who sits 10 under through 15 holes, bogey free. Drew Gibson with a single bogey. Eagle McMahon, bogey free, sits at 6 under par through the round. AJ Risley sits at 8 under par, also bogey free. Grady Shue sits at 7 under par, bogey free. So we went from a single bogey free round that was the opening round in Simon Lizotte, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe 5 of them in the works. Not to jinx them on their last
still
2
out
or
on the
3
course
holes,
right now.
but right now 5 bogey free rounds. So there's something to be said about the players really getting dialed in, really remaining focused, and knowing what their plan of attack is, and maybe cleaning up any previous mistakes from the first 2 rounds.
Definitely, and we certainly need to recognize Kevin Jones out on the course right now. Kevin has extended his birdie streak to 8 holes in a row. He has birdied the entire back 9 up until hole 18. And Kevin's the type of player who has the power to get the birdie 3 on 18. And if he were to be able to string together that 9th birdie on the back 9, first of all, that's just kind of dumb
and ridiculous.
I'm a little upset about it that it's happening. But if he's able to put that together, that'll take him to 11 under par on the weekend, which will officially set the course record, if only for probably a few minutes.
Yes, exactly. So Kevin Jones, we're watching, and we're excited to see how this is playing out for you, as Kevin Jones is on hole 18 at the moment. Like you said, Kevin at 10 under par, looking to push to 11. Wysocki currently 10 under with 3 to go. We've caught back up with the women at Peter Pan.
Emily Beach has thrown her shot a bit deep of the basket. Looks as if she had found out of bounds right of the pole and cable. So that's likely her 3rd shot. She'll be putting for bogey 4.
Paige over the last 2 holes over the last 3 holes has in fact picked up 2 strokes on Lisa Fakis just over the last 3 holes. And right now she sits with a 2-stroke advantage here on hole 15.
A good approach from Lisa. Set her 15 feet behind the basket. Catching up with the men's chase card a bit, we see AJ Risley carding his first bogey of the day on the 16th hole.
There's that jinx that I just brought up.
Island Green. If it makes you feel any better, I saw on UDisc Live that he was OB before you said so. So it's okay. He'd probably forgive you. We see Hokum with a strong up and down putt to just lay it under the basket.
As Emily sets up for her putt, it looks like we might be ready to come back to the action on the men's side, and we'll be doing so shortly. And We are, in fact, back on hole number 16. We'll be able to watch Emily putt as Ricky drives.
Ricky's played a force over out to the right, just needing that to swing back left. He's caught the tree on the right side of the fairway and fallen into the water. He'll be proceeding to the drop zone. Simon Lizotte is lining up the same big hyzer he's thrown all weekend. Successfully in round 1 and in the water in round 2. And he's stuck the island again. That, I don't know what kind of effective power you need to throw that shot, but
700 feet.
That sounds about right.
Very, very impressive. Simon Lizotte going out and around everything and puts it on the green within 15 feet of the pin. This is Drew Gibson, and this might be the most nerve-wracking shot he'll throw all day today.
With Wysocki in the water, he has an opportunity to make up 2 strokes if he lands successfully on the island. His line is good, but fading left. He needs that to sit down. And it has rolled into the water.
Wow, what mistakes by both Wysocki and Gibson as that has rolled in. There will not be an argument today as to whether or not that is inbounds or not.
No spirited discussions.
No, correct. That is correct. I'm not sure you'll see Eagle arguing on Gibson's behalf. In that is inbounds. So,
well, now we're in a situation where Eagle's one back of the lead, and if he takes a 2 here, he takes the lead. If he plays for a 3, he's back in a tie for the lead.
Yes, what a turn of events. And then yesterday we saw Simon Lizotte throw and make it from the drop zone with a very rare 3, and Eagle's taking the same route that Lizotte has taken.
And that is a huge hyzer that needs to push left.
Is it going to finish? And it does. And it hits the
and
green.
He sticks the island. I am bouncing around in my chair in excitement because we have such a tight battle up at the top. Eagle with a look for birdie 2 that'll likely be to take the outright lead.
So we are seeing 2 on the green, 2 in the water, and Paige Pierce is teeing off on hole number 16. And
this hole measures in at 515 feet. It plays as a par 4. It is a hole that Paige Pierce can reach, although I believe she was just trying to play only a semi-aggressive shot there just to get out to the left. It looks as if she's trickled out of bounds on the left side, so she'll be throwing her 3rd. She does have a 2-shot lead over Lisa Fakis as it stands right now. Fakis throws a low straight line drive, fading back to the left. We see Wysocki in the bottom left corner of our screen run his shot from the drop zone and narrowly miss to the right.
Drew Gibson from the drop zone. Oh, and comes up just short. A great looking bid. Wysocki, as you may have seen in the bottom corner, Wysocki's came up, or should I say went past the basket with a little bit of speed to it. Gibson's, however, is underneath the basket. That's the all too easy drop in at that point. So he's for sure walking with the 4. Wysocki's going to have a short putt. Meanwhile, this is Eagle McMahon for the birdie.
With nerves of steel, Eagle takes the outright lead into a headwind, taking advantage of errors on drives by both Wysocki and Gibson. Ricky in from 12 feet, possibly a bit higher in the chains than he would have liked.
And the energetic crowd pleaser, Simon Lizotte, with a great birdie. Very impressive to see Simon take that route all 3 rounds and have it result in 2 birdies on the weekend.
And a par because he threw in from the drop zone during round 2.
I would be curious if we went out and I'm sure UDisc has the stats out there. I'm not sure which buttons to click on, but I know they have them. Barring some throw-in.
We shouldn't bar any throw-ins.
And there you have it again.
Wow.
Simon Lizotte yesterday with the throw-in to save the par. 2 birdies and the par by Simon Lizotte on the weekend. UDisc, someone tell me out there, was that the best overall score? A score of 7 on the weekend.
It would have to be.
I would think so as well. Very impressive.
And with those bogeys on the island hole, that knocks out 2 of our bogey-free rounds. So the only people remaining with bogey-free rounds, I'm knocking on wood for you guys. This is Eagle McMahon sitting in first place at 7 under par on the day. Kevin Jones at 10 under par on the day, as we noted earlier, birdieing his last 8 in a row. And Grady Shue, also bogey-free, 7 under on the day. I don't see any other bogey-free rounds as of right now on UDisc Live. We'll rejoin the women here at Peter Pan Park on hole 16. Hole 16 effectively plays kind of as a par 3.5. There are very, very few 2s on this hole and not just a ton of 4s. You really want to get your 3. Thanks to UDisc Live, we can pull up the stats for this hole, and hole 16 is played with 48% of the women taking birdie on this hole. It plays at 3.71. An additional 32% have taken par. The worst score on the hole for the day has been a 5. 19% of the women's field has taken 5 here. And for the FPO cards, they're approaching one of the easier holes on the course in hole 17, playing at 2.87. And then one of the hardest holes on the course, hole 18, a par 4, playing at 4.57.
Lisa lining up a forehand with her overstable putter. Just a few holes left to play as Lisa throws her approach shot. Very competitive here on the women's side. Please go out and share the link. Let everyone know you're watching live disc golf. We've got holes 16, 17, and 18 to play on the women's side. Just 17 and 18 remain at the country club.
And I'll say, even before we finish this has been one of the most exciting pairs of final rounds that I've gotten to be a part of, either just by viewing or by commentating. I mean, this has been back and forth all the way, and we've got a tense finish for both sets of competitors.
Paige Pierce with the furthest drive in the group.
And she's actually going to be out of bounds on her drive, so she'll be playing her 3rd from just off the edge of the wood line.
And interesting to think that I feel like many of the female competitors wouldn't have even been able to get to this point to find that OB line. That's something that Paige obviously has to be concerned about moving forward. Looks like a little bit of her extra distance has found trouble here on 16.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, that Paige's distance is an advantage almost all the time, but on holes like this, it can be a detriment because she can actually reach places that other females can't.
Well, as we're watching the action on 16, just so everyone knows, there is a holdup on 17. You're not missing any of the lead card men's footage at the moment. They're playing out on hole number 17. The second card is on 17, but the lead card is just standing down, waiting for their opportunity to tee. And as we go back, and we're going to be catching up, this is Emily Beach. Emily, who started the day in second place, has dropped 2 spots. She's currently in 4th place and is sitting at +2 on the round. Hot round going thus far on the women's side. Paige Pierce and Lisa Fakis both with 4 under par going into the 16th hole.
And Emily's putt is a bit low. Next to putt will be Lisa Fakis. She looks to be approximately 20 or 25 feet from the basket. This is to gain a stroke on Paige Pierce.
And a birdie by Lisa Fakis. That's going to push her within 1 stroke, assuming Paige makes her putt here to save her par. Paige's putting stroke has struggled over the last round, but looks like she's got it dialed in, and she means business.
Wasting no time, just tossing it in.
And the last 2 rounds, Paige Pierce has picked up a handful of strokes, both in the opening round and in the second round. Whatever may have been working her, so to speak, or whatever she might have been struggling with on previous holes, she stepped aside or put aside, and on 17 and 18, she closed strong. So right now, Lisa Fakis may be thinking, yes, I'm within a stroke. There's 2 holes to play, but Paige has closed incredibly strong these last 2 rounds. We'll see if she carries that into this final round. Here's a commercial. And we are back from our short message from our sponsor, Eagle McMahon, throwing the tee here on hole 17.
Eagles taken a huge hyzer and finished on the right side of the fairway. Wysocki's drive splits the fairway.
Drew Gibson, who's had his share of the lead or outright lead a number of times, currently sits in a tie for second.
Gibson's drive is low out of his hand, hoping for some turn. Getting none. He will be quite a ways back from the other competitors, throwing his second. We switch back over to the women's coverage here on hole 17 at Peter Pan Park. Hole 17 plays 272 feet and is a great shape for a forehand, so I would call this right off the bat advantage Sarah Hokum and Lisa Fakis, both of whom throw forehands quite regularly. This is a pivotal shot for Paige Pierce. Lisa Fakis is almost definitely inside circle 1, putting for her birdie.
Is that a putter by Pierce?
That's a blend Marshall, yes, sir. She hasn't quite gotten the right move that she wanted, but she'll be putting for birdie inside probably circle 2. In case you were wondering what it's like to play at Peter Pan Park on the regular, you become very accustomed to the train horns in the background. Emily Beach has played a wide lefty hyzer. Moving right. That'll leave her probably just deep of the hole, maybe having to scramble a bit to get up to the basket.
So, again, hole 17 for both the men and the women right now. We're catching back up with Drew Gibson throwing his second shot. He's lining up a forehand.
This is a long forehand from where Gibson landed. He's played it quite well, landing around the edge of circle 1. And unfortunately, Kevin Jones could not complete his birdie streak on the entire back nine, failing to birdie the 18th, just carding a regular old par.
Oh, Kevin.
But he has shot a 53, which has moved him up 5 spots into solo 4th place as it stands right now. And a beautiful approach by Eagle, putting his disc no farther than 15 feet from the basket. So congratulations to you, Kevin, tying the course record and making a move here on Championship Saturday.
Nothing like finishing your tournament 8 under in the last 9 holes.
That'd be pretty cool. I would take 8 under on any holes on this course.
That'll make the car ride to the next stop that much more enjoyable. So, again, congratulations, Kevin Jones. Solid performance out here today.
Simon Lizotte's approach has turned on him just a bit, settling outside circle 1. And Ricky all but pins his approach, leaving it inside 10 feet.
And as you were watching Ricky Wysocki throw his approach shot, we also saw in the corner Paige Pierce throwing her putt for birdie and not able to convert on that.
Actually getting a little runaway, too.
Exactly, and that's one of the challenges there on that green is if you let it get away from you, it can easily slide deep and past the basket, leaving you an uphill comeback putt or one that gets away at a further distance. And Emily Beach is from one knee and cannot quite get out of it cleanly.
And these trees out at Peter Pan have really, really thick branches. So if you find yourself in the middle of one of them or up against the trunk, it might be better to just pitch out low or turn the disc on its back to get out to the basket. You see Beach convert her par putt. And Gibson drives his putt into the left side of the basket, giving an enthusiastic fist pump afterwards.
Very, very enthusiastic and aggressive fist pump. He's pumped up and ready to go into this final hole.
And that'll momentarily tie him for the lead with Eagle McMahon, as Eagle has yet to complete hole 17. Lizotte converts on his birdie as well. We see Fakis putting in the bottom left corner of the screen.
This is Fakis for par. Correction,
and she's come up just short. That'll leave her a par putt of approximately 10 feet. We see Ricky tap in his birdie. He'll remain tied with Drew Gibson for second place, 1 off of Eagle's pace. And Eagle is in for birdie. He'll take a 1-shot lead into hole 18.
And a moment ago, we saw Lisa Fakis miss her putt for birdie. Paige Pierce, who had attempted her putt for birdie, had gone long, as I said, down that slope, and now she's coming back up at us.
And this is a nervy putt. This is one that'll test her resolve. And she puts it in, even after a bit of an unfortunate break off the basket. Pierce will retain a 1-stroke lead heading into hole 18.
What an incredible set of action that we have going on here. Again, Paige Pierce with the 1-stroke lead going into 18. And there's a battle taking place, not just for first place there, but it is very tight with Sarah Hokum as well, as Hokum sits at 3 under for the round, and she sits at 4 down overall. So Pierce at 7 under, Fakis at 6 under, Sarah Hokum at 4 under, and then Jessica Weiss sits back a little bit further along with Emily Beach right around even or +1. So right now, Paige Pierce, 1-stroke advantage, final hole to go. Sarah Hokum likely has that 3rd place spot wrapped up. A solid performance from her today. But Pierce and Fakis, it's go time.
That's right, and 18 at Peter Pan is a difficult hole. We can see some big numbers out there. 18 plays almost like the reverse of a 7. It's an extreme dogleg right. The drive off the tee You ideally want to throw around 300 feet to get up to a flat landing spot. Go a little bit too short and you are pinched off of the fairway, unable to approach the green. Go a little too long and you're OB in some woods. And there is OB down the left side as well as parts of the right side of the fairway. I think we could see some fireworks on the last hole if one of our competitors gets a bit loose with their tee shot or tries to bite off a bit too much.
Well, this is the bogey-free Grady Shoe throwing his second shot.
Looks as if he's thrown a bit low, probably trying to play safe and not take a big number here. Shoe is sitting in solo 6th place as it stands right now.
And as you can see, a great gallery, everyone hovering around the tee of hole number 18. And on the women's side, everyone will be hovering around the tee of 18 as well, as we're just waiting for the chase cards in each situation. And a great gallery. And we have to talk about that for a moment. One of the questions was, why aren't the women playing earlier in the morning and splicing in the footage into the afternoon? We've done that so frequently on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. That shines a light on both divisions throughout the day. Different idea, different mentality here, going with having the live footage from the women because we have great signal and we're able to bring you the action from over at Peter Pan or whatever the course may be throughout the weekend. So we hope that you've enjoyed it. We'd like to thank Jeremy Rusko and Bobby Brown and everyone here at Dynamic Disc for allowing us this experiment, so to speak, from a coverage perspective, but also just from a spectator's perspective. Plenty of people wanted to go out and be able to watch the live action with the women in the afternoon, so they had that opportunity to do so. And here we are watching live action with the men on the other side of town. This is Paul Macbeth.
Macbeth with a huge forehand toward the green.
Sarah Hokum throwing her forehand on this 460-foot shot. Now, Robert, if you had a one-stroke lead over, we'll say anyone, whoever that person may be, or competitors, you had a one-stroke lead and you're going into the 18th hole of this tournament, would you personally rather be at Peter Pan or would you rather be at the country club?
Peter Pan.
Okay.
I don't
I
have
couldn't
to
finish
think
my
about
sentence,
it.
Robert.
I've taken birdie 3 on 18 at Peter Pan, maybe not countless times, but a lot of times. I've taken a birdie 3 on hole 18 at Country Club exactly 0 times.
Oh.
It's just a very, very long hole.
Let me check UDisc for that.
Yeah, 858 feet, uphill almost the entire way. Hole 18 at Peter Pan, I know the tee shot well, and it's just a simple 2-shot hole. Not simple, but easier to execute, I believe, than 18 at Country Club.
This is Lisa Fakis with a very crucial tee shot here.
And she's caught an early tree. I couldn't tell which side of the fairway that was on, but Fakis has effectively ended her shot at birdie 3 here.
So if Paige Pierce can get this up and down, of course a birdie would be great to finish, but a par might be enough to finish this off and claim the title.
And the angle out of her hand is nearly perfect. She's thrown a Marshall, so she won't go deep. That's far enough up the fairway to give her a look at the dogleg. And last on the tee on the women's side will be Emily Beach. She's thrown a beautiful straight shot that just needs to get a bit right. Oh, and she's in A1 position. I mean, perfect approach position for Emily.
So things might be decided on the women's side, and here's Simon Lizotte with a tee on hole 18.
And when you throw as far as Simon does, even if you turn your disc over too much, you're usually past the second pond. So that was a bit of a miss from Simon, but that he won't pay for.
Eagle McMahon, 25 under par and currently in first place. A birdie will secure this National Tour victory.
And Eagle reaches back and leans into this shot, and he has mashed this drive. Dear heavens, that is a massive drive. Wow. From there, he'll be able to play a hyzer. He won't have to flex anything. He won't have to bring two angles into play. That'll just be one pure angle to the basket. We start to hear some cheers from the crowd as Wysocki's drive comes to land in bounds. Looks like he's made that second shelf, which opens up an easier second shot.
If Drew Gibson wants any opportunity to possibly still take this win, at least in regulation, he's going to have to do something magical on his next two shots.
No shortage of power for Gibson as he more than clears. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Do we really see that drive finish that far up the fairway? That's past all the trees, at least close to past all the trees, in an open, wide open approach to the basket. I'm telling you, if you haven't played this course, you don't understand just how impressive that tee shot was. Huge distance from Gibson.
And we may see a few of the approach shots here from the FPO lead card. Sarah Holcomb, of course, looks to be lining up her second shot. The rest of the MPO lead card will move down the fairway, trying to get in position for their second shots. Yeah. What's Sarah Holcomb looking at here as she's lining up this approach shot, Robert?
This is an extreme hyzer angle out of her hand to get a bit of a skip around the corner. She's found inbounds, but from that spot, it's almost impossible to throw a disc that gets all the way around the corner and gives you a look at the basket.
And the men's second card is still putting out on the green of hole number 18. So while that happens, we'll take a look at what's going on here with Paige.
And I stand corrected on Paige's drive. It looked as if she made the flat portion of the fairway, but right now, since she has come up just a bit short, she really just needs to jump putt up to basically where she's standing right now, or even just a few feet left of that. That'll give her a straight shot into the green.
And it's as if she was listening to her team manager here.
I would, if I was on the bag, I would have told her to do that. So she knew what the play was. It's like she has 4 world titles and I have none or something.
As if. Well, the second card is just about cleared off of the green on hole number 18 over at the Country Club. Lisa Fakis is going to move to her shot.
And if her disc is the blue disc behind her that has found the out of bounds area, so that'll basically conclude her chances at winning this National Tour event.
It has been a great battle, but as you said, with going OB, that will be her last opportunity at any chance at winning here for this event.
Wysocki unleashes on a hyzer, tracking toward the basket. It's caught a little bit of a bad angle and is rolling, but is sat down. That's underneath the basket. He'll be putting back uphill inside circle 1.
Drew letting everyone know, I'm up there. I crushed it. I'm way up there on that fairway.
In case you're wondering, we'll still be walking for a while to get to mine. Fakis with an approach through the trees. Looks as if she's hit one of the last trees on the right side of the fairway. Pierce is lining up. A simple turnover. And she's done exactly what she's needed to do. Instead of trying to play a direct line to the basket, she's played it over to the right and has taken the OB left out of play, even with a bad tree kick. And McMahon has opted for forehand toward the basket, and it's skipped past but is settled safe. He's going to have a 25-foot putt, possibly 20 feet, to secure his win at the 2018 Glassblown Open. What a gutsy play by McMahon there. Instead of throwing the hyzer and trying to stick something into the green, he takes forehand and attempts to match the angle of the slope. Well played there for Eagle.
Drew Gibson would love to put this in.
And I can say with complete certitude, that is the longest drive I've ever seen on that hole. And I raved about Macbeth's drive at 16 Worlds on the coverage a couple of days ago. Drew just outdrove that. He is underneath the basket for his birdie 3. That'll put a bit of pressure on Eagle's upcoming 25-footer.
And as real quickly, we'll bring it back and show you Eagle McMahon with the one-stroke advantage. Wysocki and Gibson both at 24 under par. Kevin Jones is in the clubhouse at 20, and Simon Lizotte at 20. So right now, Eagle, Ricky, and Drew are trying to just finish this out.
There's Wysocki for his birdie 3.
Solid performance by Ricky Wysocki. It may not be enough. This is Eagle McMahon for the win. What's he thinking right now?
He's thinking, put this in the middle. Looks like he's got a bit of movement in the gallery behind his putt. But he shakes it off and puts it in the center. Eagle McMahon is your 2018 Glassblown Open champion. And I, for one, can say I am so excited for Eagle. Incredible play all week.
And the first to give him the hug and congratulations is Dad Pat. Congratulations, Eagle McMahon. What a performance here. And Simon Lizotte will tap in, as will Drew Gibson. Drew Gibson still not able to complete the big win or the big finish. Today and this weekend, it's Eagle McMahon.
Scores right now. Right now.
And rightfully so, Eagle saying, let's get the scores immediately. We don't want any mishaps taking place as we move back to hole 18. They're going to get the scores. This is Lisa Fakis for what she hopes is her final putt. And Lisa.
Great putt for Lisa. That'll secure her second place, I believe.
Emily Beach, our standout player here this weekend. Up-and-comer. So great to see her. Glad to have her here on the lead card. Solid performance and finish for Emily. It looks like she may be finishing as a tie for 4th. And your teammate and one of the best of all time, Paige Pierce, your champion. Congratulations.
I said it. Your 2018 Glassblown Open champion, Paige Pierce.
Paige Pierce remains undefeated in 2018.
I'll say it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Paige Pierce, one of the most intimidating competitors to play against. We've seen time and time again Paige have a one-shot lead and run away with it, or be well back, 5 or 6 shots back, and come back and just put pressure on all the time. Dominant performance by Pierce.
Pierce
Go ahead.
had said a moment ago. She said, thank you to everyone that came out here, as even though the men were playing on the other side of town. We really appreciate it. And Paige, we have to say thank you. Thank you, all of you women, for putting on such a great show. We were honored to be able to show you as much action as we could throughout the last 2 days. And a congratulations and a hats off from everyone here on our crew, all of our camera crews, and Gary to the who was out there all weekend long following along, making it happen on the camera side. So thank you. I think in a moment we're going to have Eagle McMahon join us.
Would you say, in fact, Gary O is the best cameraman?
According to Nancy
himself.
and himself, a little earlier in the round, Gary was, in fact, the best cameraman. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Gary. And looks like Eagle's dad is going to double-check the scores before turning them in. What a dad move. I love it.
And quickly of note, Ricky Wysocki does secure the course record on this course, shooting a 52 today, 11 under par, coming up one throw short of Eagle McMahon.
Eagle McMahon joining along with just a few others, Grady Shue and Kevin Jones, as the only other two today to finish bogey-free. So it was enough. Oh, and also I want to thank, finishing in a tie for 98th, Sam Michaels,
also
kept
going
it inside the
bogey-free.
ropes.
Well done,
Bogey-free.
man. Well done, man.
No, he may not have kept it inside the ropes. He did keep it bogey-free.
But, yeah, he didn't take any bogeys.
Either way. Tim Donegan, we appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. So in a few moments, we're going to be ready with Steve Hill from the PDGA.
Sweet.
And we're going to hear from Eagle McMahon.
Before we do all the stuff? Do we have to count down and all that stuff?
We don't need to count down, Steve. We're all ready to go.
He still wants to count down.
2 PDGA National Tour events, 2 wins for Eagle McMahon. We're here with the Glassbone Open champion. Congratulations, Eagle.
Thank you, Steve.
How's it feel?
It feels great. I mean, to think that I've been chasing after a big win like all these past years, and now I've won the first 2 NTs of the year. It just, I don't know, it just feels like completely surreal, but I wouldn't feel like, I wouldn't say it's fake, because that's kind of what I expected it, so.
Now, you played real patient early in the round until obviously hole 16. Changed up the approach entirely. I heard you even talk to Simon, say, here you go, Simon. Was that just a matter of having the box lashed and being able to take that shot?
That was, being last on that box was like the biggest gift from the disc golf gods like ever. To see them throw their shots and me to strategize afterwards, it was just it was a great opportunity. I mean, I was thinking about laying up, but then I figured if I birdie it, 2 holes to play, up 1 stroke, I think that was a better idea. And I don't know, I felt like I had some karma on my side after yesterday's ruling.
A bit of a change from Vegas. You kind of pulled away with that one. This one you took it late. What's that say about the scope of your game right now?
Oh, it's just so great to get that confidence. I mean, of course I had a million thoughts rushing through my head, like, oh my gosh, Australia, Ricky Wysocki's right behind me. But no, not today. I just stuck to my game plan and fully committed to the shots and super patient. Thanks, Ricky, for teaching me patience. So,
Eagle McMahon, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you guys.
Yeah.
Good job, mate.
All right, now what?
I'll get you more. I'll get you more.
Oh, yeah, let's go Masters Cup.
Let's get
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, buddy.
Where's my free beer coming from?
Colorado proud.
There you go.
Love it.
Well, again, an amazing performance here by Eagle McMahon this weekend. Also, of course, on the women's side, Paige Pierce, Robert, a moment ago, we heard Eagle McMahon say, well, maybe there was a little bit of karma on 16, and that seemed to be the difference maker here for the tournament this weekend.
And that was exceptionally well played by McMahon. We saw him go last on the tee. He played the big hyzer just like he'd seen Simon do, and that was the hole that ultimately decided the championship. Very aggressive play by Eagle, capitalizing on the opportunity that he had. So congrats to you, Eagle. This was a great battle to get to watch and to get to commentate throughout this entire
And the weekend's not over, but it's been a great time here. And Robert, I've got to thank you for being here along with us, as actually you lent us the Disc Golf Answer Man studios for the week, as we brought action from 4 different courses, ultimately 3 or 4 different courses this weekend.
That's right. And we did loan it to you, but you will also owe us the rent check shortly. So, just get back to me on that.
I'll take it out of the hair product allotment that we had.
Yeah,
the
perfect.
expense
Wait,
for you.
Wait, hold on.
Where does that
okay,
equal
yeah,
out?
that sounds good.
That probably goes from time to time. Of course, as we close out, we want to thank everyone else besides just Dynamic Disc and the PDJ. I have to thank Chad Inman and Rick Hushain, along with Gary to the O out on the cameras. The staff everywhere, every single tournament director that was at all of these different courses, including the flex starts that we were able to partake in, and the volunteers, along with our tournament director, Doug Bjerkes, who wore nothing short of like probably 10 or 12 different hats.
He's one of the hardest working guys in disc golf, and he pours out his blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that this week goes off and that everybody has a great time.
Well, he's put that one in the success category yet again. Doug Bjerkes, thank you so much. Jeremy Rusko of Dynamic Disc, the owner and CEO, along with everyone from the Trilogy family. Just so much love and